Chapter 2747. Hearing this, Demon Ancestor lowered his head and pondered for a while before saying, "When Snow and Blood Blade came back, they seemed to have mentioned this gray castle." "What did they say?" Qin Feiyang said. "Is this very important?" Demon Ancestor was suspicious, and "I met a blood spirit in hell." According to the Beast Emperor, this blood spirit is called Blood Ancestor, a peerless almighty of the previous era. And Grey Castle seems to be from the previous era, so I think Grey Castle might know Blood Ancestor. Qin Feiyang said. "Then let me think." Demon Ancestor pondered. Qin Feiyang said, "You might as well ask Snow to come out and tell me." Demon Ancestor shook his head and said, "It and Blood Blade both went to the land of Source." "What?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. To the land of Source? What was this little brat doing? Why did Snow and Blood Blade also enter the land of Source? I remember now. That's what Blood Blade and Snow said. Grey Castle seemed to be looking for something, so it didn't come back with them. But where did it go? What is it looking for? Snow and Blood Blade don't seem to know either. Demon Ancestor said. Qin Feiyang frowned and said, "Are they really not sure? Or are they deliberately hiding it from you? Then I don't know. But even if they are hiding it from us, we can't do anything. After all, for heaven-defying artifacts like them, if they don't want to say it, it's useless to force them." Demon Ancestor shook his head. Qin Feiyang lowered his head and was silent for a while, then sighed and said, "All right, you continue." After saying that, he left the cultivation room and appeared in the number 1 cultivation room. This was his exclusive cultivation room. Fire Lotus would not let anyone in. Of course, there were exceptions. For example, the Mermaid Princess, Qin Rushuang, Tantai, and other close relatives of Qin Feiyang. Although he had not been back for hundreds of years, the cultivation room was still as spotless as ever. Obviously, Fire Lotus had been helping him clean. Qin Feiyang glanced at the cultivation room he hadn't seen in a long time. He walked to the altar and opened the alchemy scripture. Now that he had broken through to the 9 heavens realm, he could look at the pill formulas on the next page. When Qin Feiyang opened it, he found that there were only 3 pill formulas on this page, and this was the last page. The first type was called the Infinite Creation Pill. The second type was called the Tranquil True Spirit Pill. The third type was the Disaster Crossing Heavenly Pill. The Infinite Creation Pill was used to open the door of potential in the 9 heavens realm. The Tranquil True Spirit Pill was used to raise the cultivation of the 9 heavens realm. As for the Calamity Crossing Heavenly Pill, Qin Feiyang was stunned. This Disaster Crossing Heavenly Pill actually had the ability to break the curse. Curse? Qin Feiyang frowned. Rumble. Suddenly, the stone door was pushed open by someone, and Dan Wonkai walked in with a smile. "I couldn't find you at Devil Ancestor's place, so I knew you were checking the pill scripture here. I also knew that you would definitely come to me as soon as possible." Qin Feiyang smiled. To Dan Wonkai, who was obsessed with alchemy, nothing was more important than the pill formulas. Dan Wonkai laughed dryly, walked to Qin Feiyang's side, and lowered his head to look at the pills. Infinite Creation Pill, Tranquil True Spirit Pill, Disaster Crossing Heavenly Pill. Seeing the Disaster Crossing Heavenly Pill, Dan Wongkai's expression was also slightly stunned. Qin Feiyang laughed. Tranquil True Spirit Pill, other than me, Frenzied and White-Eyed Wolf. No one should be able to use it. Yes, only Mu Qin can use it. Dan Wonkai nodded. Then this Infinite Creation Pill, go and see if there are any ready-made medicinal ingredients. If there are, refine it and distribute it to everyone, so that everyone can open the door of potential. Qin Feiyang said. All right, Dan Wonkai replied. Qin Feiyang said, "By the way, how much has your mental strength grown now? I haven't tested it, so I'm not sure. But now, I can already refine divine pills with 3 dragon-shaped pill auras." Dan Wonkai retracted his gaze and looked at Qin Feiyang with a smile. Ever since Qin Feiyang gave him the soul concentration divine art, his mental strength grew stronger day by day. Not bad. It's just 1 dragon-shaped pill aura less than mine. Then in the future, I'll leave the alchemy to you. This Nether Devil Flame and Heavenly Flame Divine Cauldron will be given to you for the time being, Qin Feiyang said. To tell you the truth, When you weren't around, I was using the Nether Devil Flame and Heavenly Flame Divine Cauldron to refine pills. Dan Wonkai rubbed his head and smiled. It's fine. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and said, I don't understand this crossing adversity heavenly pill. You should think about it carefully. All right. Dan Wonkai nodded. Qin Feiyang turned and walked out of the cultivation room, left the castle, and looked around. 1,000 years a day. The overall strength of the Black Tortoise realm should have increased by several times. He closed his eyes and extended his perception infinitely. It can't be. He discovered that the current Black Tortoise realm was actually twice as large as the previous Black Tortoise realm. Moreover, the population had also increased by several times. This development is too fast, Qin Feiyang muttered, feeling very happy in his heart. Not long later, he was able to see the situation of the entire Black Tortoise realm. As expected, the overall power of the Black Tortoise realm had changed greatly. In the past, there was not a single paragon god, but now they were everywhere. For example, Pai Lupi and Theta Wong, the two overlords of the Black Tortoise realm, were already half a step into the Nine Heavens realm. At this rate, the number of Nine Heavens realm in the Black Tortoise realm would definitely increase. Shua. With a flash, he landed in the air above the desert of death. Everyone was accompanying the Fire Python as they checked the divine treasury. Brother Fire, how is it? Qin Feiyang stepped forward and said with a smile, Incredible. The Fire Python was not stingy with his praise. This is all thanks to the Fire Lotus. Although I am the master of the Black Tortoise realm, I did not contribute much to the construction of the Black Tortoise realm. Qin Feiyang shook his head. The Fire Python looked at the Fire Lotus with eyes full of praise. All right, let's go out. I'll go to the 3rd floor to take a look. The Fire Python retracted his gaze and said, You're going to the 3rd floor? Qin Feiyang was stunned. And, didn't you say that the temple's door was open? Of course I have to take the opportunity to take a look at the 3rd floor. The Fire Python said, All right, but before that, I have a request. Qin Feiyang said, Just say it. The Fire Python smiled. Qin Feiyang said, I want to return to the Great Qin Empire. Return to the Great Qin Empire. The Fire Python was shocked and said, Brother, although I can send you back, you know Lord Ice Dragon and Lord Beast God's attitude. The last time I let you enter the 3rd floor, I already angered Lord Ice Dragon. If I continue to help you, I'm afraid he will kill me. Moreover, after you entered the ancient realm, Lord Ice Dragon found me and said that no one is allowed to enter or leave the ancient realm. You know Lord Ice Dragon's strength. I really don't dare to help you anymore. There was a trace of fear in the Fire Python's eyes. Qin Feiyang's heart skipped a beat. He hadn't considered this point. The white-eyed wolf thought for a moment and said, Ice Dragon and Small Beast should have left the divine ruin, right? Left? The Fire Python was stunned. He looked at the white-eyed wolf and said, Are you sure? If they have really left, I can help you. But there's one more thing. The Fire Python looked at Qin Feiyang and said, Since there is the inheritance of the power of law in the temple, why don't you let everyone enter the temple? That's right. Qin Feiyang slapped his head. Yi Cheng, Hua Yi, Feng Daji, and the 5-clawed golden dragon were all imperishable stage experts. If they entered the temple and successfully comprehended the power of law, their strength would skyrocket. Hearing this, Hua Yi and the others were also tempted. I don't think it's appropriate, because this is cheating. If Ice Dragon and Small Beast have really left the divine ruin, then it's fine. But what if they haven't? If they find out that we have all entered the temple, I'm afraid they will kill us all in anger. Fire Lotus looked at the Fire Python and said in a deep voice, At that time, I'm afraid even you will be killed. Although you can find an excuse to avoid it, as the guardian of this place, if you don't stop us, then you are not doing your duty. Heard this. The Fire Python's pupils shrank. Hearing Fire Lotus's words, this matter was indeed quite serious. Why don't we just forget about it? The ancient castle is sealed, and so are the battle souls. Facing Ice Dragon and Small Beast, not to mention winning, even self-preservation is a problem. Qin Feiyang shook his head and sighed. I agree too. We can slowly comprehend the power of law, but if we lose our lives, then everything will be gone. As for returning to the Great Sheen, why don't we wait until tomorrow and open the space-time gate? This way, even if Ice Dragon and Small Beast find out, they can't blame Lord Guardian. The Mermaid Princess suggested. The Fire Python shook its head and said, the space-time gate can teleport inside the Divine Ruin, but it can't teleport out. Why? The Mermaid Princess looked at the Fire Python in surprise. In the past, I also thought that this space-time gate could teleport to the Great Sheen, because the space-time gate has the power of law of space-time. But later, when I became the guardian of the Divine Ruin, I found out that this Divine Ruin contains a power of law that can cut off space-time teleportation. Only a designated space-time gate or altar can teleport out. The Fire Python said. What about the ancient world? Qin Feiyang asked. In the past, he also thought that it should be possible, but he didn't expect that it wouldn't be possible. It won't work either. The space-time gate must be fused with the highest profoundness of the space-time law to break this power of law of space-time, the Fire Python said. In that case, only you can send us out? Qin Feiyang frowned. Yes. As the guardian of the Divine Ruin, I can ignore this power of law. The Fire Python nodded. After pondering for a while, it gritted its teeth and looked at Qin Feiyang, saying, I'll send you back to the Great Qin, but this is really the last time. This? Qin Feiyang was shocked. I think, even if Lord Beast God and Lord Ice Dragon find out, they should spare me this time for my father's sake. The Fire Python said, Then forget it. I'm not going back. Qin Feiyang waved his hand. He didn't want the Fire Python to take risks for him. For me, you fought with the Fire Dragon and almost lost your life. If I don't even help you with such a small matter, then what right do I have to call you brother? Besides, am I the kind of person who is afraid of death? This matter is decided. The Fire Python laughed heroically. Chapter 2748. After leaving the Black Tortoise Realm, the Fire Python sent Qin Feiyang to the Great Qin Empire and then opened the altar and entered the third level. There was no one on the first level of the temple, but right above, there was a door that looked like a black hole. This door led to the second level. The Fire Python looked at the black hole and muttered, There is indeed a second level. Then, it looked at the world outside the temple and its eyes were filled with surprise. Boom! Suddenly, two terrifying auras descended. The Fire Python's eyes trembled and hurriedly looked up. It saw Ice Dragon and Small Beast standing in the air. Greetings, Lord Ice Dragon and Lord Beast God. The Fire Python hurriedly prostrated on the ground. At the same time, Frenzy, Yangli, and the burly man also came out of the black hole. Looking at Ice Dragon and Small Beast, their eyes were filled with fear. But when they noticed the Fire Python, a trace of suspicion appeared on their faces. Who was it? Do you know your crime? Ice Dragon looked at the Fire Python angrily. The Fire Python's heart trembled. Could it be that Ice Dragon and Small Beast already knew about sending Qin Feiyang to the Great Qin Empire? Everything in the Divine Ruins is under our control. Do you think you can hide it from us? Ice Dragon shouted. I'm sorry. The Fire Python's eyes trembled and hurriedly prostrated on the ground, saying, I won't dare to do it again. Lord Ice Dragon, Lord Beast God, please have mercy. Mercy? Ice Dragon sneered and said, I seem to have warned you last time. It seems that you don't remember my words. Yes, it's all my fault. Lord Ice Dragon, please be magnanimous and give me a way out. The Fire Python was terrified. What's going on? Frenzy and the others looked at each other. You disobeyed our orders time and time again. Why should we keep you alive? Ice Dragon snorted coldly, and a wisp of divine power appeared, exuding an aura that could destroy the world. Lord Ice Dragon, the Fire Python's eyes trembled, but Ice Dragon was expressionless. With a whoosh, divine power charged toward the Fire Python. An aura of death suddenly enveloped it. The Fire Python steeled its heart and looked at the small beast. It roared, Lord Beast God, I refuse to accept this. The small beast was stunned. It looked at the Ice Dragon and said, Stop. Ice Dragon raised his eyebrows, and the strand of divine power immediately dissipated. The golden small beast looked down at the fire python and said calmly, "Tell me why you're not convinced." "I did make a mistake, but what about the fire dragon? It killed my father. Why didn't you pursue the matter?" "At the very least, my father was a guardian of the miracles back then. He served you loyally. However, not only did you not mention a single word about its death, you even allowed the fire dragon to enter the second level of the temple. Even I, the current guardian, don't know about the second floor of the shrine. Why? Just because the fire dragon is a divine dragon?" The fire python said angrily. "What? It's actually the guardian of a miracle." Madman and the others looked at the fire python in shock. The ice dragon said angrily, "You made a mistake and you still dare to argue with me." "I'm not arguing with you. I'm just curious. Why do you still allow the fire dragon to make so many mistakes?" "As for me, I only made a small mistake, and you want to kill me?" The fire python said in a low voice. "You." The ice dragon glared at the fire python. A small guardian dared to talk back to him? Then you should know that you're only the guardian of the first and second floor, not the guardian of the third floor. You don't even have the authority to enter the third floor, let alone know about the situation of the shrine. The golden small beast said calmly, "That's right. I don't have the authority, nor the qualifications, but I want to know, is it wrong for me to avenge my father? My father served you and was killed by the fire dragon. Did he deserve it?" The fire python roared. At this moment, it gathered its courage, straightened its back, looked straight at the golden small beast, and said the words that had been in its heart for a long time. The golden small beast didn't say anything. The ice dragon also seemed to be touched, frowned, and didn't say anything. After a while, the golden small beast looked at the fire python and said calmly, "How about this? I won't pursue this matter, but if there's a next time." Hearing this, the fire python was overjoyed and hurriedly said, "There won't be a next time. If there really is a next time, there's no need for Lord Beast God to do anything. I'll do it myself." "Very good. Also, from today onwards, you're not only the guardian of the first and second floor, but also the guardian of the third floor. You can freely enter and exit the shrine." The golden small beast waved its claw, and a golden light entered the fire python's forehead. "Thank you, Lord Beast God." The fire python was overjoyed. It didn't think that it would be a blessing in disguise and become the guardian of the third floor. As a guardian, do your duty well. After saying that, the golden small beast disappeared with the ice dragon. "Farewell, Lord Beast God, Lord Ice Dragon." The fire python prostrated on the ground and respectfully called out. Madman retracted his gaze and walked in front of the fire python. He cupped his hands and smiled. "Congratulations, congratulations." The fire python was stunned and looked suspiciously at Madman. It seemed to be asking if this emperor knew him. "Qin Feiyang has long told me about your name, but we've never met before." Madman smiled. "Brother Qin?" The fire python was stunned and said, "You know Brother Qin? Of course. We're friends, partners who have gone through thick and thin together." Madman smiled and pointed at Yangli. "He's also Qin Feiyang's subordinate." "Greetings, Lord Guardian." Yangli bowed. The fire python nodded and looked at the burly man and said, "What about them?" "Them?" Madman looked at the six and said, "I don't know them. I don't know them." The fire python nodded in realization and said indifferently, "Then get lost." "Scram?" The six expression froze. On the other hand, Madman and Yangli had gloating expressions on their faces. "Lord Guardian, why?" The straw sandal old man looked at the fire python anxiously. "Why are there so many whys? I just don't like you guys." The fire python said indifferently, The six were stunned and felt bitter in their hearts. "What do you mean by not pleasing to the eye?" "It's because they have nothing to do with Qin Feiyang." Looking at Madman and Yangli, one was Qin Feiyang's friend and the other was Qin Feiyang's subordinate. The fire python treated them so well. They never thought that Qin Feiyang would have such a good relationship with the guardian of the miracle. What kind of monster was this kid? His network was so huge. "Didn't you hear?" The fire python frowned. The six were anxious. It wasn't easy for them to enter the temple. If they were driven away like this, wouldn't they miss the inheritance of the power of laws? How unwilling would that be? The enchanting woman's eyes flashed and smiled. Lord Guardian, to tell you the truth, it was Qin Feiyang who asked us to stay. The fire python looked at her suspiciously. The enchanting woman said, "If you don't believe me, you can ask Madman and Yang Li. Is that so?" The fire python looked at Madman and Yang Li. The enchanting woman, the man in golden clothes, little demon child, the old man in straw shoes, the old woman in green robe, and the burly man immediately looked at Madman and Yang Li with a trace of pleading in their eyes. Madman looked at the six of them with a face full of ridicule. "Aren't you very arrogant? Continue." How could the six of them dare to be arrogant now? The fire python was completely different from the fire dragon, because the fire dragon wasn't a guardian. Although it could borrow the power of the mark couldn't be compared with the power of rule force. The fire python was different. The fire python was now the guardian of hell. The guardian could control the power of rule force. The power of rule force was obvious to all. It could even kill a powerhouse at the level of ancestral dragon. In short, right now, the Infernal King's hell was under the control of this fire python. "Brother Madman, please, don't play with us, okay?" The old man in straw shoes transmitted his voice. "Really?" Madman secretly said. "If you're not playing with us, then what are you?" The old man in straw shoes had a crying face. "Then when you guys had evil thoughts, I didn't see you guys show any mercy." Madman sneered. Sorry, it's all our fault. Can't we apologize to you?" The old man in straw shoes sighed. "This one slip will cause everlasting regret. This is the result of going against us. No matter where, we have a lot of opportunities to make you guys suffer." Madman transmitted his voice. Yes. The old man in straw shoes repeatedly replied. Madman retracted his gaze and walked to the fire python's ear, whispering, "The situation is like this. These six people, Qin Feiyang is interested in them." Madman briefly explained the situation to the fire python. "So it's like this." The fire python suddenly understood. Looking at the six people, he secretly said in surprise, "They are all imperishable stage powerhouses. So what if they are imperishable stage powerhouses? Not to mention that there is a guardian here, even in front of me and Qin Feiyang, the white-eyed wolf. They have to obediently lie down." Madman's face was full of disdain. The fire python's pupil shrank, and he transmitted his voice. "Although I'm a guardian, you heard the beast god's warning just now. I can't abuse my power." I know. Madman nodded. The fire python dryly coughed, looked at the six people and said, "All right, for Brother Qin's sake, this emperor won't make things difficult for you guys." "Thank you, Lord Guardian." The six people were grateful. Madman was a bit speechless and transmitted his voice. "Didn't you say that you can't abuse your power? Why did you say that? Is there a problem?" The fire python was stunned. "Of course there is a problem. You said that you won't make things difficult for them because of Qin Feiyang's face. What does this mean?" "This means that you're shielding Qin Feiyang. Furthermore, you're openly shielding him. What will others think of this?" "They will definitely think that you are abusing your power and siding with your own people." Madman was helpless. The fire python was stunned and nodded. "That seems to be true." Madman shook his head and said, "Since you are now the guardian of hell, can you help find Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf?" "Find them?" The fire python was stunned. "And not long ago, they suddenly disappeared." Madman transmitted his voice. "Suddenly disappeared?" The fire python looked at Madman in shock and said, "They didn't tell you that they were going back to Great Qin? What the hell? They are going back to Great Qin?" Madman was shocked. "That's right, they have already returned. This emperor is the one who sent them back. Just now, Lord Ice Dragon and Lord Beast God were investigating this matter." The fire python transmitted his voice. "Those two bastards, they didn't even say anything before leaving. This daddy also wants to go to Great Qin to take a look." Madman cursed. "Then I'm sorry, this emperor doesn't dare to send you out now." The fire python shook his head. "If he did it again, It wouldn't be Lord Ice Dragon who killed him, but Lord Beast God himself. Chapter 2749. Great Qin Empire, Sea of Reincarnation. In the deepest part of the sea, there was an island. This island was called Demon Dragon Island. Back then, the battle between Qin Feiyang and the demon ancestor took place here. The entire island was destroyed in an instant, but after the battle ended, Qin Yuan used his great magic power to reform this island. In the center of Demon Dragon Island, there was an inland sea. In the depths of the sea, there was a blood-colored altar. This blood-colored altar was the second way to the miracle. Why was it the second way? Because the first way was the stone door that appeared when the miracle opened. For example, Qin Feiyang entered the miracle for the first time through this stone door. And now, Demon Dragon Island was also occupied by sea beasts. But not a single sea beast dared to approach the center of the island. Because on the coast of the inland sea, there was a huge statue. It was a young figure. He looked to be in his 20s. His body was tall, and he wore white clothes. His black hair was like a waterfall. His handsome face revealed a sense of fortitude. This statue was 10,000 feet tall and emitted an invisible force. It was like an overlord of heaven and earth, overlooking this continent. This statue was a godly figure in the great Qin Empire. Because this statue was Qin Feiyang. Swish! Suddenly, a man and a wolf silently appeared above the island. There was no suspense. They were Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf. A man and a wolf stood in the sky, scanning the familiar island and sea below. They smiled and said, "We've finally returned to our homeland. Yes, I've been gone for hundreds of years. I wonder how everyone is now." The white-eyed wolf sighed. He missed this homeland and every friend, brother, and family on this homeland. And, suddenly, Qin Feiyang noticed the statue standing by the sea. Swish! At that moment, he took a step forward and landed in front of the statue. He asked suspiciously, "Isn't this me?" "It's you. But why is there a statue of you? And it's too exaggerated. How are you so handsome in person?" The white-eyed wolf pursed his lips. "Am I not handsome in person?" Qin Feiyang frowned. "Are you handsome?" White-eyed wolf asked. Qin Feiyang snorted and said, "Not to mention others, at least he's more handsome than you." Tsk, the white-eyed wolf's eyes were full of disdain. He looked at the statue and muttered, "This is really strange. I didn't see this statue when I left." Qin Feiyang retracted his gaze and smiled. "Let's go to the imperial city." "Wait a moment. It's boring to go back like this. No matter what, we have to give them a surprise." The white-eyed wolf's eyes darted around. Qin Feiyang cast a sidelong glance at the white-eyed wolf and said, "What rotten idea are you thinking of?" "Don't interrupt. I'll think about it carefully." The white-eyed wolf waved its claws. "Then take your time to think about it." After saying that, Qin Feiyang took a step forward and strolled in the air above the sea. "Wait for me," White-Eyed Wolf shouted. "What's that sound?" Nearby, a gigantic sea beast was lying on the ground, taking a nap. Suddenly, it shuddered and opened its eyes, raising its head to look. When it saw the backs of Qin Feiyang and the White-Eyed Wolf, the sea beast's eyes suddenly widened. How could it be them? Was it an illusion? The sea beast rubbed its eyes hard and looked up again. However, it found that the man and the wolf had disappeared. "Looks like it was an illusion," the sea beast muttered and looked at the statue in the distance. Its eyes were full of reverence. Then, it closed its eyes and continued to take a nap. This sea beast cultivation was a 9-star combat emperor. It was only one step away from the false god realm. A 9-star combat emperor was a peak existence in the Great Qin Empire. However, in front of Qin Feiyang and the White-Eyed Wolf, it was nothing. Even if they were just strolling in the air above the sea, these sea beasts could not really catch them with their cultivation. It was currently February, and the Sea of Reincarnation was filled with vitality. The sun in the sky was also emitting gentle and warm sunlight. Half a day passed. A small island entered the sight of Qin Feiyang and the White-Eyed Wolf. In his memory, this island was the Lu family's land. The White-Eyed Wolf scanned the island and laughed. "I wonder how Lu Zheng and Xiao Hong are doing now." Qin Feiyang laughed. A few hundred years have passed. I guess they even have a bunch of children now. A bunch of children? That's a bit exaggerated. The white-eyed wolf was stunned. Exaggerated? Didn't you see how anxious second grandpa was? He couldn't wait for Lu Zheng and Lu Hong to give birth to a bunch of children for him. Qin Feiyang said, "A bunch of children? Do you think Xiao Hong is a pig?" The white-eyed wolf was speechless. "Haha." Qin Feiyang was slightly taken aback. Then he laughed and said, "That's not a good word." The white-eyed wolf shook his head speechlessly and whispered, "Keep your voice down. Don't let others hear you. We're not here to be thieves." Qin Feiyang was displeased. "Don't talk nonsense. From now on, you'll listen to me." The white-eyed wolf glared at Qin Feiyang. Then, under Qin Feiyang's gaze, he turned into an ordinary big black dog. The corner of Qin Feiyang's mouth twitched. The white-eyed wolf waved his paw and condensed a face. He threw it to Qin Feiyang and said, "Put it on." "Is it necessary?" Qin Feiyang caught the mask, looking helpless. The white-eyed wolf said angrily, "Put it on. Why are you nagging?" Okay. Qin Feiyang nodded and put the mask on his face. His whole face was covered, only revealing a pair of eyes. The white-eyed wolf looked at Qin Feiyang for a while and shook his head. "It still won't work. Little Hongzi is too familiar with you. She doesn't need to look at your face. She can recognize you just by looking at your eyes. Then what else do you want me to do?" Qin Feiyang was a little irritated. "Change your little eyes a little." The white-eyed wolf said, "I just like to mess around." Qin Feiyang shook his head. His eyes gradually changed. The sharpness disappeared, with a simple and honest aura. "This." The white-eyed wolf looked at him for a moment and nodded with satisfaction. "Not bad. Let's go." After that, he wagged his tail and flew toward the island. Qin Feiyang followed him helplessly. Boom, crash, roar. Suddenly, the sea on the left side was surging with waves. Then, a deafening roar sounded. Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf were stunned. They stopped in their tracks and turned their heads to look. They saw a huge sea beast roaring out of the sea with a ferocious aura. Opposite the sea beast stood a young man. The young man was about 18 or 19 years old. He wore a pair of large underpants and his upper body was bare. His skin was dark and he was incomparably muscular. The young man's cultivation was not bad. Two-star war ancestor. Two-star war ancestor could only be considered an ant in the ancient world, but in the Great Qin, it was not bad. Especially a young man. It could be seen that his talent was extraordinary. As for the sea beast, its cultivation was a little higher than the young man's. It was a 4-star war ancestor. The sea beast glared at the young man and said, "Brat, you come here every day. Aren't you annoying?" The young man grinned and said, "If I'm annoyed, why would I come here every day to find you? Let's start." Okay. The sea beast nodded angrily and raised its huge tail to slap the young man. The young man chuckled and smashed the huge tail. Boom. Although the sea beast's cultivation was 2 small realms higher than the young man's, it was actually no match for the young man and was forced back by the young man's punch. The sea beast said in surprise, "Not bad. You've already broken through to 2-star war ancestor." "I was lucky. I just broke through last night." The young man said, "Humph. You think you can defeat me just because you've broken through to 2-star war ancestor?" The sea beast snorted coldly. As its battle chi surged, a huge beast shadow appeared and pounced towards the young man. High-grade battle technique? Good. You're finally willing to take out your trump card. The young man was extremely excited and roared, "Fire Phoenix first style, Fire Phoenix seal." Boom. Immediately, a palm-sized square seal appeared. It was surrounded by flames and emitted a powerful aura. The Fire Phoenix seal is indeed very powerful, but your Fire Phoenix seal is only an intermediate battle technique. The sea beast disdained. "Is that so?" The young man laughed sinisterly. The square seal immediately expanded in the wind, and its aura increased by a large amount. "What? High-grade battle technique?" The sea beast was shocked. "That's right. Just when I broke through last night, I also happen to upgrade the Fire Phoenix technique to a high-grade battle technique." The young man laughed. "Then you're still inferior to this emperor? After all, this emperor is 2 small realms higher than you." The sea beast snorted coldly, and the beast shadow instantly attacked. The young man waved his hand, and the Fire Phoenix seal immediately shook the air as it charged towards the beast shadow. Boom! The 2 war spirits collided with a loud bang. The Fire Phoenix seal immediately shattered, and the beast shadow pounced in front of the young man. Just as the young man was about to die, the beast shadow suddenly stopped. "Kid, how is it?" The sea beast looked at the young man proudly. The young man snorted coldly, "Don't be complacent. Next time, I will definitely defeat you." The sea beast pursed its lips and said, "This emperor has heard you say this for decades. This time, I'm serious. Next time, I will definitely be able to do it." The young man looked at the sea beast unwillingly. "Fine, fine, fine. Then this emperor will wait for you to defeat this emperor next time." Scram! The sea beast waved its claws and said coldly. The young man pursed his lips and turned around to land on the beach. He looked back at the sea beast and said, "Then you really have to wait for me." "I know." The sea beast looked impatient. The young man grinned and was about to leave. But suddenly, a young girl ran out from the forest ahead. The young girl was even younger than the young man. She looked to be about 15 or 16 years old. She wore a light green dress and was a battle monarch. The young girl looked at the young man and said angrily, "I knew you would be here." The young man smiled embarrassedly and asked, "Little sister, why are you here?" The young girl said, "Dad asked me to look for you. He wants you to go back and plant rice." "I have to plant rice again." The young man's face immediately turned bitter. The young girl looked at the young man with sympathy. Then, she looked at the sea beast and bowed. "Greetings, Uncle Sea Beast. And you, little girl, are very polite. Unlike your brother, who caused trouble for this emperor the moment he arrived." The sea beast said, "What do you know? I want to become an expert like my uncle." The young man looked at the sea beast with yearning and desire in his eyes. "You? Stop dreaming. Although this emperor has never met your uncle, this emperor has heard of his deeds. He is the strongest existence in the Great Qin Empire. He is also the guardian of the Great Qin Empire. This emperor is not trying to discourage you, but no matter how hard you work, you won't be able to do it." The sea beast looked down on him. Chapter 2750. "I can definitely do it." The young man stared at the sea beast angrily. "You definitely can't." The sea beast pursed its lips. "Let's continue." The young man roared, rubbing his fists and walking towards the sea beast. "Not interested. Hurry up and go back to farming. Otherwise, when your father comes looking for you, your butt will be beaten again." The sea beast laughed gloatingly, then plunged into the sea and disappeared. "Bastard! Just you wait. I will definitely defeat you tomorrow." The young man stared at the sea angrily. "Brother, if you don't go back, I'm afraid father will beat you up until you can't get out of bed tomorrow." The girl giggled. "You talk too much, little girl." The young man glared at the girl and ran forward. Whoosh! However, at this moment, a man and a dog appeared in front of him. The young man was stunned, stopped, looked at the man and the dog, and immediately shouted, "Who are you?" At the same time, he took a few steps back, protecting the girl behind him. The girl also looked at the man and the dog warily, because these were 2 unfamiliar faces. This man and the dog were naturally Qin Feiyong and the white-eyed wolf. Originally, they were just here to watch the show, but they didn't expect that the young man actually had the Fire Phoenix technique. What did this mean? It meant that the young man was a disciple of the Liu family, and he was a direct descendant. This was because an inheritance like the Fire Phoenix incantation could only be inherited by disciples who possessed the direct bloodline. As for this girl, even if she was the young man's biological sister, she must be a member of the Liu family. Since she was a member of the Liu family, they were naturally interested. The white-eyed wolf looked at the brother and sister and asked, "What are your names?" His tone was a little cold. "What does it have to do with you? This is my Liu family's land. You'd better not behave atrociously here, the young man shouted. Ha ha! The white-eyed wolf laughed and said, Kid, you really have guts, daring to talk to your brother like this? The young man raised his eyebrows, looking at the cultivation of Qin Feiyong and the white-eyed wolf. Why did they seem to have no cultivation at all? Could they be mortals? That's not right. Why would mortals be here? You have to know. The sea beasts in the nearby sea area were all very powerful. Suddenly, the young man's eyes trembled as he whispered, Little sister, be careful. This man and dog are probably pretending to be weak. Pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger? Are you trying to humiliate us? The white-eyed wolf frowned. What? You can even hear that? The young man was shocked. What's so surprising about that? The white-eyed wolf was speechless. With his and Qin Feiyong's current cultivation, coupled with the fact that they were so close to each other, he could only use sound transmission to hide from their ears. The young man looked at the girl and the wolf and suddenly shouted, Little sister, run! Immediately, the young man released his aura and ferociously rushed towards Qin Feiyong and the white-eyed wolf. The girl also ran to the other side in a panic, intending to go around Qin Feiyong and the white-eyed wolf to go home and ask for help. You, get down. The white-eyed wolf raised its claws and gently slapped at the young man. How would it dare to use force? With its cultivation, it could smash the young man into meat paste with just a little force. With a bang, the young man fell to the ground and ate a mouthful of sand. Brother, the girl exclaimed, hurry up and send a message to father and mother. Someone sent a message to our Lu family's land. The young man shouted. The girl gritted her teeth and ran away in horror. Hey! The white-eyed wolf bared its teeth and clawed at the air. The girl was also thrown back uncontrollably and finally rolled on the ground. So strong. The young man's pupils contracted. What's going on? At this time, the sea beast that dived into the sea rushed out of the sea and looked at the scene in surprise. It's none of your business. Get lost. The white-eyed wolf said, Do you know where this is? How dare you come here to make trouble? The sea beast suddenly shouted angrily. Then do you know my strength? How dare you shout in front of me? The white-eyed wolf pointed its claws in the air, and an invisible force pounced on the sea beast. The sea beast suddenly screamed, and its huge body flew out, blood flowing from its body. Qin Feiyong said in his heart, White-eyed wolf, don't you think you've gone too far? I didn't kill them. Why are you so agitated? The white-eyed wolf pursed its lips. Nonsense. Qin Feiyong was speechless. The white-eyed wolf looked down at the siblings and said indifferently, Now, can you answer our questions honestly? You're courting death. The sea beast flew back and shouted, They're the descendants of the Lu family. Hurting them is going against the Lu family and the entire Great Qin. Shut up. The white-eyed wolf stared. The sea beast shrank its neck. Just who were these two people? They even dared to provoke the Lu family. The white-eyed wolf shouted, Answer me. What are your names? The young man's eyes trembled and said, My name is Lu Xiaofei. This is my sister, Lu Xiaojia. Lu Xiaofei? Lu Xiaojia? The white-eyed wolf murmured and asked, Then who are your parents? The young man said, My father is Lu Zhang. My mother is Lu Hong. What the hell? The white-eyed wolf was astonished. Qin Feiyong was also stunned. This kid in front of him and this girl were actually Lu Zhang and Lu Hong's children? Although he had thought of this question, he was still a little surprised when two such big children suddenly popped out. However, after taking a closer look, Lu Xiaofei and Lu Zhang did resemble each other a little. Lu Xiaojia and Lu Hong also resembled each other a little. The sea beast took a deep breath and looked at Qin Feiyong and the white-eyed wolf. It begged, Please, let them go. The white-eyed wolf looked at the sea beast and asked in confusion, Aren't you very annoyed with Lu Xiaofei? Why are you pleading for him? This kid is very annoying, but he is very kind. Like other people, when they see sea beasts like us, they will want to kill us, but Lu Xiaofei treats us as friends. If you don't believe me, you can go and ask. All the sea beasts within 100 miles of here know Lu Xiaofei's character. The sea beast said. The white-eyed wolf said, You mean, you were just sparring before? Yes. Since he was young, He has been determined to become a peerless figure like his uncle, so he often comes to us to fight with him." The sea beast nodded. "Uncle?" The white-eyed wolf was stunned. He turned to look at Qin Fei Yang and asked suspiciously, "Does Lu Hong have brothers?" "I don't think so." Qin Fei Yang shook his head. The white-eyed wolf wondered, "If not, then why is there an uncle?" "How would I know?" Qin Fei Yang said. The sea beast said, "You must have heard of the brother and sister's uncle. Who is he? He is so amazing." The white-eyed wolf was curious. The sea beast said proudly, "The guardian of great Qin, Qin Fei Yang." "What the hell? Qin Fei Yang? Qin Fei Yang is their uncle?" The white-eyed wolf was stunned. Qin Fei Yang was also stunned. This relationship was not right. Lu Zheng was his cousin. Logically speaking, Lu Zheng's children should also call him uncle. Why did he become their uncle now? The term uncle was reserved for the woman's brother, which was Lu Hong's elder brother or younger brother. Only then would they be called uncle. What was going on? The white-eyed wolf looked down at Lu Xiaofei and Lu Xiaojia and asked, "Is Qin Fei Yang really your uncle?" Of course. The brother and sister raised their heads, and there was a little pride on their faces. The white-eyed wolf snickered and said, "Little Qin Zi, it seems that they admire you very much. I'm wondering now, how did I become their uncle?" Qin Fei Yang muttered. The white-eyed wolf thought, "Why don't we ask Lu Zheng and Xiaohong?" "Then let's go," Qin Fei Yang said telepathically. "What's the hurry? Didn't we agree to give them a surprise?" The white-eyed wolf's eyes darted around. "What else do you want to do?" Qin Fei Yang frowned. "Just wait and see." The white-eyed wolf snickered and looked at Lu Xiaofei and Lu Xiaojia, saying, "Sorry, we happen to be your uncle's enemies." "What?" The brother and sister's faces turned pale. "Uncle's enemies?" The sea beast's expression also changed abruptly. It thought that the man and the dog would be scared when they heard the name Qin Fei Yang, but it didn't expect that it would have the opposite effect. "Qin Fei Yang almost killed us once. We've been thinking about revenge, but we didn't expect to meet you today. It just so happens that we can collect some interest." The white-eyed wolf snickered. His cold tone and ferocious gaze made it seem like the real deal. "What are you going to do? I'm telling you, don't dig your own grave," the sea beast shouted. The white-eyed wolf glanced at the sea beast and sneered. "Go and tell Lu Zheng and Lu Hong that we're here for revenge." After that, the white-eyed wolf waved its claws, rolled up Qin Fei Yang and the brother and sister, and turned into a stream of light and disappeared into the jungle ahead. "Damn it!" The sea beast roared and hurriedly flew to the center of the island. There was a village in the center of the island. Simple and plain houses were located in picturesque disorder on the mountains. In the village, the old people were leisurely drinking tea, playing chess, chatting, or basking in the sun. At the entrance of the village, a group of children gathered together, fooling around, playing, and laughing. Not far from the entrance of the village, there was a small stream. A group of women were also talking and laughing as they washed vegetables or clothes. Outside the village, there were large paddy fields, farms, vegetable fields, and orchards. Many men were working hard with bare arms. Although they were sweating like rain, their faces were full of happy smiles. This scene looked very simple and heartwarming. This was the Lu family. These were the people of the Lu family. This was a different rich family. They didn't pursue a luxurious life, but simplicity, and tranquility. Although they were all powerful, they were willing to live the life of an ordinary person. They had no desires and were dedicated to creating this enviable paradise. In one of the courtyards, a dignified woman in red was meticulously building the garden in the courtyard. Next to her, a man in black was lying on an armchair, drinking tea and basking in the sun while looking at the woman's back. He was still very young, but he was like an old man. However, his face was also full of satisfaction. With a wife like this life was enough. Chapter 27:51. Roar. Suddenly, a beast's roar broke the silence of the mountain village. The adults and children looked up and saw a huge sea beast flying over in a panic. "How dare you? Do you know where this is? How dare you run over here?" A middle-aged man put down the hoe in his hand and flew into the sky. He looked at the sea beast and shouted. There were too many children in the village. If a sea beast suddenly ran over, they would definitely stop it. What if it hurt the children in the village? I have something to talk to Lu Zheng about, the sea beast said. Lu Zheng? The middle-aged man was stunned. Swoosh. The man lying in the courtyard was also stunned. He immediately got up and took a step forward. He landed in front of the sea beast and asked, "Why are you looking for me?" That was right. He was Qin Feiyang's cousin, Lu Zheng. The sea beast said, "Lu Xiaofei and his sister have been kidnapped." Lu Zheng was stunned. The middle-aged man next to him and the clansman below also looked at the sea beast in shock. You're joking with us, right? Who in the great Qin Empire dares to touch the descendants of the Lu family? The middle-aged man came back to his senses and said with a frown. The other clansmen also thought so. I'm not joking. Just a while ago, a masked man appeared with a big black dog. They said that they were Qin Feiyang's enemies. They also asked me to tell you that they're here to seek revenge, the sea beast said. Hearing this, Lu Zheng looked at the sea beast and said, You're the sea beast who has been fighting with Xiaofei? That's me. The sea beast nodded. Lu Zheng's heart sank. He looked at the middle-aged man next to him and said in a deep voice, Then it seems that it's true. The middle-aged man's face also darkened. He looked at the sea beast and asked, Where did they take Xiaofei and Xiaojia? They seem to have entered the island, but I don't know where exactly because they're too fast. I can't even catch their shadows. But I think they must be hiding somewhere, secretly watching the Lu family and waiting for an opportunity to make a move, the sea beast said. Boom. Just as the sea monster finished speaking, a terrifying aura suddenly erupted from the village below. Following it was a bone-piercing cold current. It was originally February, but in an instant, it was as cold as the 12th lunar month. The entire village could not help but shudder, including Lu Zheng. Everyone looked at the courtyard. He saw that the red-clothed woman had already stopped trimming the flower bed. She raised her head and stared at the sea beast, a bone-chilling cold air around her. Whoosh! The next moment, the red-clothed woman soared into the sky like a bolt of lightning and landed beside Lu Zheng. Lu Zheng hurriedly said, Hong don't be anxious. That was right. This woman was none other than Lu Hong. Scram. Lu Hong glared at Lu Zheng. Lu Zheng shrank back and retreated to the side. Although Lu Zheng was living a happy life now and had a son and a daughter, he was also known to be henpecked. Of course. To be exact, it was not a henpecked husband, but a kind of doting love for Lu Hong. Lu Hong looked at the sea beast and said coldly, What do they look like? The sea beast's battle chi surged, and two shadows appeared. They were Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf, but in disguise. Lu Hong looked at the two shadows. Lu Zheng, the middle-aged man, and the villagers below were also looking at the man and the dog. I can't tell who this masked man is, but I have no impression of this big black dog at all. Hong you've been following little cousin all this time. Did he have such an enemy before? Lu Zheng frowned. Definitely not. But we can't rule out the possibility that they've changed their appearance. Now is not the time to talk about this. Go and find them immediately. If we don't find little Fei, little Jia, don't come back. Lu Hong said. Okay. I'll go now. Lu Zheng nodded. He looked at the sea beast and said, Quickly lead the way. The sea beast immediately turned around and ran toward the sea. Brothers, keep up. Lu Zheng waved his hand, and the large group of men below immediately soared into the air. Together with Lu Zheng, they majestically surged towards the seaside. At this moment, they didn't hide anymore and all of them exuded a powerful aura. The Lu family never caused trouble, but they were never afraid of trouble. Anyone who dared to provoke the Lu family and hurt the descendants of the Lu family would have to pay the price even if they were God. At the same time, in a certain valley, Lu Xiaofei and his sister stood together, looking at Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf in horror. The white-eyed wolf looked at Lu Xiaofei angrily and said, Look at you. You're so useless. Lu Xiaofei was stunned. Forget about your sister. After all, she's still young. But what about you? You seem to have lived for decades. Is that all you have? You're such a coward. Do you think you can become someone like your uncle? Dream on. The white-eyed wolf snorted coldly. Why do you look down on me? Lu Xiaofei suddenly roared. Why? Because I'm familiar with your uncle, the white-eyed wolf said. Familiar? Lu Xiaofei was stunned. Didn't I say just now that we're your uncle's enemies? Since we're enemies, we naturally know him well. You can't even think of this. Are you an idiot? The white-eyed wolf frowned. Lu Xiaofei looked somewhat embarrassed. The white-eyed wolf said, Let me ask you, how old are you now? 29. Lu Xiaofei said. 29. The white-eyed wolf muttered and asked, What about your sister? 15. Lu Xiaofei said. 15. The white-eyed wolf looked at Lu Xiaojia and said in surprise, You've broken through to one-star battle king at the age of 15. You're quite talented. Qin Feiyang also looked at Lu Xiaojia, feeling rather surprised. Entering one-star battle king at the age of 15. This speed was unheard of. The white-eyed wolf said in his heart, Little Qin Zi, when you were expelled and your cultivation was destroyed, you were a 9-star martial master? Yes. Qin Feiyang replied. The white-eyed wolf said telepathically, Then, isn't her talent better than yours? Better than mine? Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned. He pondered for a while and said, At that time, I was only 10 years old. If I hadn't been expelled from the imperial capital at the age of 15, I think I should be more than a one-star battle king. That's true. The white-eyed wolf nodded. Above martial master was martial grandmaster. Above martial grandmaster was battle king. Although there was still a big gap between them, with Qin Feiyang's talent, entering the battle king at the age of 15 was definitely a matter of time. After all, he was already a 9-star martial master at the age of 10. The white-eyed wolf looked at Lu Xiaofei again. 29 years old, 2-star battle saint, to be honest. After thinking about it carefully, Lu Xiaofei's talent was really shocking. The first step of cultivation, martial artist, martial master, martial grandmaster. The second step of cultivation, battle king, battle emperor, battle master, battle saint, battle the arch. In other words, Lu Xiaofei only used 29 years to break through 6 big realms. He was indeed quite powerful. The white-eyed wolf suddenly said, Take off your clothes. Take off my clothes? Lu Xiaofei was stunned. He immediately covered his clothes and said in horror, What do you want to do? Damn, what's with your expression? Don't tell me I'll take advantage of you? I just want to see if you have a potential mark on your chest. The white-eyed wolf was speechless. Lu Xiaofei said in surprise, You also know about the potential mark? Nonsense. Of course I know, the white-eyed wolf said. That's true. After all, you are my uncle's enemy. I admit that I have opened the door of potential. Lu Xiaofei nodded. As expected, the white-eyed wolf whispered. Back then, when Qin Feiyang left, he left behind the pill formulas for the potential pill, small creation pill, and big creation pill. These 4 pills were all used to open the door of potential. Although Qin Feiyang had given these pill formulas to Emperor Hong at that time, with the relationship between the Lu family and the Qin clan, there was no need for the Lu family to say anything. They would take the initiative to copy a pill formula and send it to the Lu family. Now that he thought about it, opening the door of potential and cultivating to a 2-star war master at the age of 29 was actually not that surprising. The white-eyed wolf looked at Lu Xiaofei and said, Do you think that it's amazing to cultivate to a 2-star war master at the age of 29? Did I say that? Lu Xiaofei felt wronged. He just stood there and didn't say anything. Humph. Although I didn't say it, that's what I thought in my heart. Do you know what your uncle was doing when he was 29 years old? The white-eyed wolf said, Of course I know. Mother, father, and a few grandpas often talk about uncle's deeds. Lu Xiaofei said proudly. So you know. Not to mention 29 years old. When your uncle was 15 years old, he was alone and wandering outside alone. Can you imagine what kind of experience this is for a 15-year-old person? 15 years old, just like your sister, is still just a child. Other children of this age are still acting spoiled in front of their parents. However, your uncle has already begun to face schemes and intrigues. Look at you. You're already 29 years old, but you're still growing up under the protection of your parents. Do you think that you can become a big shot like your uncle? The white-eyed wolf's face was full of disdain. I want to go out and train, but my father, mother, and a few grandpas don't agree. What can I do? Even when I go to find the sea beasts nearby to train, I have to hide it from them. Lu Xiaofei felt wronged. Why is that? Going out to train is good for you. The white-eyed wolf was doubtful. Mother said that people of her generation have been living too hard, and she doesn't want us, the later generations, to live such a life. Lu Xiaofei said. Understanding dawned on the white-eyed wolf. So, it's because she can't bear for you to leave. However, thinking about it, it makes sense. Mothers love their children dearly. No one would be willing to let their children wander outside without anyone to rely on. Why does it seem that you not only know my uncle, but also my mother? Lu Xiaofei looked at the white-eyed wolf suspiciously. Nonsense. Back then, your mother was always by your uncle's side. Of course, I know her. The white-eyed wolf rolled his eyes at Lu Xiaofei. That's true. Lu Xiaofei nodded, but he felt a little strange. Didn't they say that they were his uncle's enemies? Why did they seem to care about him now? Chapter 2752. There's a valley over there. Let's go take a look. Suddenly, not far away, a shout could be heard. The white-eyed wolf was slightly taken aback. He chuckled and said, I didn't expect you to find us so quickly. You're not talking nonsense. They are the children of Lu Jing and Lu Hong. They are Grandpa's great-grandchildren. How can they not be anxious? Qin Feiyang said secretly as he glared at the white-eyed wolf. The white-eyed wolf grinned. Whoosh! Very soon, more than a dozen men dressed as farmers flew above the valley. Xiaofei, Xiaojia. When they saw the brother and sister pair, the dozen or so people were overjoyed. However, when they saw Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf, their faces immediately darkened. Who exactly are you? More than a dozen people landed in the valley and shouted at the man and wolf. Uncle He, Uncle You. Lu Xiaofei and his sister looked at the two burly men standing at the front and were overjoyed. Don't be afraid. We're here. The middle-aged man who was called Uncle He comforted them. Is there any use for you to be here? The white-eyed wolf looked at the group of people. The strongest was only a 3-star combat emperor. Do you know where this place is? Uncle, he said in a deep voice. Isn't this the Lu family? If we didn't know, we wouldn't have come. The white-eyed wolf rubbed his nose and looked at the Lu siblings. Open your eyes wide and see what a true expert is. All of you lie down. Boom. A terrifying imperious aura burst out from his body. Uncle He and more than a dozen people immediately lay on the ground, unable to move. So strong? The siblings were extremely shocked. Even a combat emperor couldn't fight back in front of this big dog. You're courting death. My Lu family has a combat god. Uncle, he roared. A combat god is still an ant. The white-eyed wolf's face was full of disdain. Such big words? The group of people was shocked. Could it be that this man and dog were also combat gods? In the past, false gods were the strongest in Great Qin. But now, people like Lu Hong and Lu Zhang had already become warlords. His grandfathers had also suppressed their cultivation to the semi-divinity realm. Furthermore, there were medicinal pills that could unlock the door to potential. Over the past few hundred years, even the Lu family's clansmen's cultivation had improved greatly. It could be said that the Lu family's current strength was countless times stronger than before. The younger generation was also full of talents. What do you want to do to my son and daughter? Suddenly, a furious roar was heard. A black-clothed man broke through the air like a bolt of lightning, his aura terrifying beyond compare. It was Lu Zhang. Divine might spread out in all directions, causing the mountains and the earth to tremble. Little cousin, Qin Feiyang looked up at Lu Zhang and muttered to himself. His eyes were filled with excitement. After hundreds of years, they finally met again. Compared to the young and frivolous man he used to be, the current Lu Zhang exuded a calm and steady aura. True enough, men who got married and had children would slowly change. Initial stage warlord? The white-eyed wolf was stunned. With its cultivation, it could naturally see Lu Zheng's current cultivation at a glance. Why was he still at the initial stage warlord level after so many years? This brat must have been thinking about being intimate with Lu Hong all day and had forgotten to cultivate. You get down too. The white-eyed wolf waved its paw, and a vast aura instantly surged toward Lu Zheng. With a bang, Lu Zheng immediately fell into the valley like a meteor and smashed into the ground. No way. Uncle He and the others were dumbfounded. Lu Xiaofei and his sister were also filled with disbelief. Their father was the most powerful person in the Great Qin Empire, but now, he was actually insta-killed by a big black dog? This was completely beyond their imagination. Lu Zheng was also shocked. To be able to crush him so easily, the cultivation must be at least at the initial stage warlord level. When did such a terrifying expert appear in the Great Qin Empire? Moreover, it was a big black dog. If even this big black dog was so strong, then wouldn't the masked man standing next to it be even stronger? Patriarch. Accompanied by a series of exclamations, groups of people flew over from all directions. They were all members of the Lu family. When they heard the commotion, they immediately rushed over, but they didn't expect to see such a scene. Patriarch. The white-eyed wolf was stunned. Qin Feiyong was also stunned. This unreliable guy actually became the patriarch of the Lu family? Patriarch, are you all right? A few hundred people entered the valley and surrounded Lu Zheng. I'm fine. Lu Zheng waved his hand, looked at Qin Feiyong, and then looked at the white-eyed wolf and said, "Thank you for showing mercy." It was obvious that if this big black dog wanted to kill him, it could do so with a wave of its paw. The grandfathers of the Lu family actually let you be the patriarch. Aren't they afraid that the Lu family will be destroyed in your hands? The white-eyed wolf joked. Hearing this, Lu Zheng's face immediately darkened, and he said, "Sir, you can despise me, but you can't doubt my ability." The white-eyed wolf shook his head and said, "I really don't know what ability you have except to show off and pick up girls." Lu Zheng's face was extremely gloomy. But then again, this is also a kind of ability. Otherwise, how could you have won Lu Hong's heart and given birth to 2 children? The white-eyed wolf said. Hearing this, Lu Zheng instinctively showed a trace of pride. Let go of my children. Let go of our great-grandson and great-granddaughter. Boom. At this time, accompanied by a series of angry roars, more than a dozen people flew over aggressively. Qin Feiyong and the white-eyed wolf looked up, a little dazed. The leader was Lu Hong. Although she was a married woman, she still looked like a young girl, but compared to before, she now looked more dignified and beautiful. Behind her, there were 4 old men, all with white hair. They were the 4 grandfathers of the Lu family. The first grandpa was Qin Feiyong's grandfather, Lu Yun. The second grandpa, third grandpa, and fourth grandpa, there was no need to say much. Whether it was Qin Feiyong or the white-eyed wolf, they were all very familiar with them. And behind Lu Hong and the 4 grandfathers, there was a group of people. Qin Feiyong was also familiar with these people. They were the hidden experts of the Lu family. When the thieving heaven realm was revived, it was also them who worked together to revive it. Looking at these familiar faces, Qin Feiyong's eyes moistened on the spot. Ahem. Calm down, don't show any flaws. The white-eyed wolf said telepathically, "How long are you going to play?" Qin Feiyong said angrily, "Don't worry." The white-eyed wolf smiled secretly. Whoosh! Lu Hong, Lu Yun, and the others landed in the valley. Looking at Lu Zheng's sorry state, their hearts sank. Lu Zheng said suspiciously, "Grandpa, second grandpa, why are you all here?" Lu Zheng's grandpa was naturally Qin Feiyong's grandfather, Lu Yun. After such a big thing happened, we still have the mood to meditate? Lu Yun glared at Lu Zheng, then looked up at Qin Feiyong and the white-eyed wolf and said, "Who are you?" "Don't care who we are. We are here for revenge," the white-eyed wolf said. Lu Hong frowned and said, "What kind of hatred do you have with Feiyong?" "A blood feud. So you have to pay with the lives of all the Lu family members." The white-eyed wolf's eyes flashed with killing intent. "I'm afraid you don't have the ability." Lu Hong's face was as cold as frost, and her aura rolled out. "Honger, no." Lu Zheng hurriedly shouted. Continue to lie on the ground. The white-eyed wolf waved its claws, and Lu Zheng lay on the ground again. So strong. Lu Yun and the others were shocked. The white-eyed wolf looked at Lu Hong and said, Come on, let me see how much your strength has improved. Boom. Divine power rolled out, and Lu Hong slapped at the white-eyed wolf. The white-eyed wolf raised its claws and gently tapped Lu Hong's palm. At that moment, Lu Hong froze. Immediately after, her whole body retreated, and a trace of blood flowed from the corner of her mouth. White-eyed wolf, what are you doing? Qin Feiyong secretly shouted. The white-eyed wolf was also a little caught off guard, and said with an embarrassed smile, I didn't control my strength well. I'll pay attention next time. There's a next time? The anger in Qin Feiyong's heart immediately flared up, and he directly kicked the ingrate away. Looking at this scene, Lu Hong and the others were all suspicious. Internal strife? What was going on? Bastard, what are you doing? The white-eyed wolf rolled on the ground, got up, and glared at Qin Feiyong. You've been fooling around for so long, it's about time. Qin Feiyong rolled his eyes at it, looked at Lu Zheng, Lu Hong, and finally fixed his eyes on Lu Yun. Then, he quickly walked towards Lu Yun. What are you doing? Lu Hong quickly stood in front of Lu Yun, her face full of vigilance. Qin Feiyong was stunned. Did this little girl think that he was going to hurt Lu Yun? For a moment, the others were also very nervous. The strength of the big black dog was obvious to all, but this person could kick it away. No doubt he was even stronger. They couldn't help but feel a sense of despair in their hearts. Tada! Qin Feiyong walked step by step to Lu Hong, looked at her for a long time, suddenly smiled at Lu Hong, and reached out to push Lu Hong away. Smile? Lu Hong was stunned. He actually smiled at her? And the smile in his eyes was so familiar. Immediately, Qin Feiyong flopped and knelt in front of Lu Yun. At this moment, everyone was dumbfounded again. Why did he kneel? What was going on? Lu Yun herself was also stunned. Qin Feiyong took a deep breath and said respectfully, Grandson greets Grandpa. Everyone was stunned. Grandson, Grandpa? Second Grandpa, third Grandpa, and fourth Grandpa couldn't help but cast a suspicious look at eldest Grandpa. But eldest Grandpa was also puzzled. What's going on? Qin Feiyong was stunned. Why did they all have such a reaction? Wait a minute. Suddenly, he patted his head, but his voice didn't change back. Previously, in order to cooperate with the white-eyed wolf, he changed his voice. A strange voice suddenly calling himself grandson and calling him grandpa would definitely make people confused. Cough, cough. Qin Feiyong coughed, changed back to his original voice and said again, Grandson greets grandpa. This voice, at this moment, Lu Hong, Lu Zheng, Lu Yun, second grandpa, third grandpa, fourth grandpa, and those hidden experts all looked at Qin Feiyong in surprise. They would never be able to forget this voice. Little sister, what's going on? Look at their reaction. It's so strange. Lu Xiaofei at the side whispered, I don't know. Lu Xiaojia shook her head, also puzzled. Chapter 2753. How boring. The white-eyed wolf shook his head and walked slowly to Lu Xiaofei and his sister. What do you think? Am I awesome? Awesome. The brother and sister nodded. It was the first time they had seen someone defeat their parents since they were born. And it was so easy. The white-eyed wolf asked, Do you want to be my disciple? What? The brother and sister were stunned. A big black dog wanted them to be his disciple? No, that was not the point. The point was, wasn't it their uncle's enemy? An enemy should have the attitude of an enemy. What on earth was going on? There was a dead silence in the valley. Everyone was staring at Qin Feiyong, including the members of the Lu family. They had seen Qin Feiyong before, so when they heard his voice, they were all stunned. This voice was so similar to Qin Feiyong's voice. No. It was not similar. It was exactly the same. You are. Lu Hong suddenly took a step forward and walked in front of Qin Feiyong. She looked at Qin Feiyong's eyes with some doubt and some expectation. It's me. Qin Feiyong smiled, then raised his hand and took off the mask on his face. The moment the mask fell, everyone present froze in place. The familiar face, the familiar eyes, and the familiar smile. Wasn't he Qin Feiyong? It's really you, Lu Hong murmured. Looking at Qin Feiyong, tears immediately streamed down her face. It's really him, Lu Yun, the second grandpa, the third grandpa, and even the fourth grandpa, who was a little cold, could not help but tear up. Why are you all crying? Lu Xiaofei and his sister looked at everyone's reaction with even more puzzled expressions. Because Qin Feiyong's back was facing them, they couldn't see Qin Feiyong's face. The white-eyed wolf shook his head and said, "You two siblings are really slow to react. If I put you two outside, you definitely won't survive more than 2 days." What do you mean? The siblings looked at it suspiciously. The white-eyed wolf said, "Think about it. Who else in this world can call Lu Yun grandpa?" The brother and sister pondered for a while. Then, their eyes slightly trembled. They quickly ran to Lu Hong's side and looked at Qin Feiyong's face. Immediately, the two of them stood rooted to the ground. This is the result of not letting them out to train. They don't have any brains at all. The white-eyed wolf shook his head and simply lay down on the side, leaning against a rock. He crossed his legs and looked at the group of people. What a harmonious scene. Feiyong. A long time passed. Lu Hong could no longer control her inner emotions. She threw herself into Qin Feiyong's arms with tears in her eyes. "Girl, long time no see." Qin Feiyong reached out and hugged Lu Hong's shoulder, chuckling.
Yes.
It's been hundreds of years. I already have 2 children. Lu Hong nodded. Yes, time flies. Qin Feiyong sighed with emotion. If it were another man, Lu Zheng would definitely fly into a rage on the spot. How dare you hug my wife? But Qin Feiyong was different. Because Qin Feiyong and Lu Hong's relationship had been established since they were children. Moreover, he also knew that Qin Feiyong had always regarded Lu Hong as his younger sister, without any mixed feelings between a man and a woman. Otherwise, how could it be his turn to marry Lu Hong? The Lu siblings turned to look at Lu Zheng and asked, "Father, is he really uncle?" Lu Zheng turned around and quietly wiped the tears from the corners of his eyes. Looking at the siblings, he nodded with a smile and said, "Yes, but you can't call him uncle. You should call him uncle." But the siblings didn't hear the last sentence at all. Hearing that it was really their uncle, the two immediately looked at Qin Feiyong. This was the legendary mythical figure. They could recite all the rumors about Qin Feiyong backwards. Back then, Qin Feiyong led his subordinates into the demonic Dragon Island, fought a bloody battle with the demon ancestor, and killed the demon ancestor. Then, he entered the Forgotten Continent and easily killed the previous emperor. But this was still nothing. The most admirable thing was that he opened the gate of rebirth and used his own life as the price to revive all the creatures that had died tragically. Even though hundreds of years had passed, who wouldn't respect the name Qin Feiyong? Because Qin Feiyong was the savior of the great Qin, and also the savior of the Forgotten Continent. This name symbolized a supreme glory, and countless people revered and worshipped it, and now, this legendary figure was right in front of the siblings. How could they be calm? They definitely couldn't be calm. That was because to them, Qin Feiyong was not only their savior, he was also their relative, and the idol that they had always chased after. Okay. Qin Feiyong gently pushed Lu Hong away and said with a smile, "You're already the mother of 2 children, and you still like to cry?" Lu Hong was stunned. Looking at Lu Xiaofei and Lu Xiaojia, her face couldn't help but turn red. She quickly wiped her tears and got up to Lu Zheng's side. "Don't worry, I won't be jealous." Lu Zheng chuckled. "You're not serious." Lu Hong glared at him. "Don't kneel. Get up." Lu Yun finally came back to his senses and hurriedly went up to help Qin Feiyong. Qin Feiyong stood up and looked at Lu Yun. He smiled and said, "I haven't seen you for many years. Grandpa is getting younger and younger." Brat. Lu Yun reached out and knocked Qin Feiyong's forehead, but his old face was full of a caring smile. "Second grandpa,
Third grandpa.
fourth grandpa, and the elders, unfilial grandson Qin Feiyong pays his respects to you." Qin Feiyong looked at the 3 of them, as well as the hidden experts, and bowed. It's good that you're back. It's good that you're back. The group of people was extremely excited, and for a moment, they didn't know what to say. Uncle, I really didn't expect you to be our uncle. Lu Xiaofei and his sister ran to Qin Feiyang, their eyes full of brilliance. Qin Feiyang rubbed their heads dotingly and said with a smile, "Did I scare you just now?" It's okay. Lu Xiaofei chuckled. You were so scared that you almost peed your pants, and you still say it's okay? The white-eyed wolf pursed his lips. Everyone looked at the white-eyed wolf again, with a trace of suspicion in their eyes. It's time to show your true form. Open your little eyes. The white-eyed wolf stood up lazily, and his body suddenly flashed with divine light. The next moment, a wolf king with golden hair and wings on his back appeared in front of everyone's eyes. White-eyed wolf. Lu Zheng was slightly stunned, and immediately roared, "You bastard! You bullied us as soon as you came back!" At that moment, he fiercely pounced on the white-eyed wolf. "Don't come looking for trouble." The white-eyed wolf looked at him. Lu Zheng turned a deaf ear. His eyes were as if he wanted to peel off all the fur on the white-eyed wolf's body. However, after rushing up, Lu Zheng hugged the white-eyed wolf's neck with one hand and rubbed the white-eyed wolf's head with the other hand. He laughed and said, "Damn wolf cub, I really missed you." The white-eyed wolf was stunned. He thought that this guy looked fierce and came to settle accounts with him, but he didn't expect this to happen. "Don't miss me. I'm the man you'll never get." The white-eyed wolf grinned. Lu Zheng was also stunned. His face darkened, and he fiercely punched him, saying disdainfully, "You're a man? I'm a male wolf. If I'm not a man, what am I?" The white-eyed wolf raised his eyebrows. Lu Zheng joked, "Do you want me to find you a female wolf to satisfy your craving?" "What nonsense are you talking about? Don't you see the child beside me?" Lu Hong's face suddenly darkened, and she said angrily, "Ha, sorry, I got too excited." Lu Zheng laughed dryly. "You still can't escape the fate of being a henpecked husband." The white-eyed wolf shook his head. "I'm happy to." Lu Zheng raised his head, full of pride. "SK." The white-eyed wolf glanced at him disdainfully, walked up to Lu Hong and grinned. "Little Hong, did you miss me? You bullied us as soon as you came back. Why should I miss you?" Lu Hong snorted coldly. "I'm sad. I thought about how I took care of you in the past, but you didn't miss me." The white-eyed wolf shook his head. "You?" Lu Hong shook her head and laughed. "Not bad. Although you're a mother of two, you're getting more and more beautiful." "Did Lu Zheng bully you all these years? Tell me, I'll kill him," the white-eyed wolf said. Before Lu Hong could say anything, Lu Zheng ran to the white-eyed wolf and complained tearfully, "My brother, my dear brother, look at me. Do you think I dare to bully her? She's the one who bullies me all the time. You don't know how hard I've been all these years." He sounded so bitter that he almost cried. "Did I bully you?" Lu Hong raised her eyebrows. "You? No, no." Lu Zheng quickly waved his hands, his face full of flattery. The white-eyed wolf glanced at Lu Zheng, nodded, and said, "I believe you. You'll only be bullied like this. But it's good that you're being bullied. Little Hong, continue to do well in the future. Don't stand on ceremony with us." Inhumane. Lu Zheng pursed his lips. Lu Xiaofei chuckled and said, "Father, I didn't expect you to have such a cute side." Lu Xiaojia also snickered at the side. "Get lost. It's not your place to interrupt when adults are talking." Lu Zheng glared at the siblings and walked to Qin Feiyang. He looked Qin Feiyang up and down, stretched out his hands, and said with a smile, "Welcome back." "Thank you." Qin Feiyang smiled. The two men didn't say much. They just gave each other a bear hug because they could understand what each other was thinking. All right. Don't just stand here. Come home with us." Lu Yun stepped forward and grabbed Qin Feiyang's wrist, as if he was afraid that Qin Feiyang would disappear in the next second. Feeling the warmth from the old man's palm, as well as the benevolent and smiling face, Qin Feiyang nodded his head heavily. "Yes, let's go home." Everyone followed one after another, their faces full of bright smiles. Whoosh! At this time, the sea monster also flew over in a panic. But when it saw this scene, the sea monster was immediately stunned. What was going on? Thank you for informing us. Come to the village to play when you have time. Lu Zheng looked at the sea monster and said with a smile, Okay. The sea monster nodded. Suddenly, its eyes fell on Qin Feiyang's face, and its body suddenly trembled. This face, he was back. Chapter 2754. The Lu Family. When Qin Feiyang entered the village, the elders and women in the village were shocked. When did this kid come back? When they learned that Lu Xiaofei and his sister were kidnapped by Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf, everyone was speechless. It turned out to be a joke. However, it was really a surprise. Who would have thought that this kid would come back? Yes, no matter how strong Qin Feiyang's cultivation was, or how high his status was, he was still just a kid in their eyes. Kid, how have you been these years outside? Have you been bullied? Do you know? We've been missing you all these years. Especially Xiaojing and Xiaohong. Every New Year's festival, they would talk about you and look forward to your early return. Such care and concern could be heard incessantly. Looking at these familiar faces, Qin Feiyang's memories that had been covered in dust for many years emerged uncontrollably. Although he rarely came to the Lu family since he was a child, every time he came, everyone would ask about his well-being and care and never treat him as an outsider. Coming here, he could feel a sense of belonging in his heart. This was his home. Everyone here was his family. Lu Yan said, Lu Zheng, go and arrange a welcome dinner for Feiyang tonight? Okay. Lu Zheng nodded. I'll go and help. Lu Hong smiled, turned around, and strode away with Lu Zheng. Although she had a lot to say to Qin Feiyang, she knew that Qin Feiyang now belonged to the several grandfathers. Feiyang, come, let's sit over there. Lu Yun pulled Qin Feiyang into a courtyard next to them. In the courtyard, there was a simple two-story wooden building without any decoration, which looked simple and clean. On one side of the courtyard, there was an old pagoda tree. It was February, and the old pagoda tree was full of green leaves, full of vitality. Under the tree, there was a stone table with a tea set on it. Qin Feiyang looked around and asked, Grandpa, is this where you live? Is it very simple? Lu Yun sat on a stone bench and said with a smile as he brewed tea. Compared to those luxurious buildings outside, it is indeed very simple and crude, but those luxurious places can't give me a sense of belonging. Qin Feiyang smiled. Take a seat. Lu Yun pointed at a stone stool and smiled. There were 6 stone benches in total. There were 4 grandfathers in total. White-eyed wolf didn't hold back and took one. Now, there was only 1 stone bench left. Qin Feiyang looked around. The villagers had surrounded the courtyard so tightly that not even a drop of water could trickle through. Lu Xiaofei, Lu Xiaojia, and the 10 hidden experts were still there. It's fine. We can just stand. One of the hidden experts said with a smile. All right then. Qin Feiyang nodded and sat on the last stone bench. Second Grandpa looked at the villagers around and said with a smile, Don't crowd around here. Go and help prepare the banquet. There will be plenty of time to talk to Feiyang in the future. Haha, that's true. Let's go. The clansmen roared with laughter. Soon, only Lu Xiaofei and his sister, the 10 hidden experts, and a group of children were left. These children were all staring at Qin Feiyang and White-Eyed Wolf curiously. Sister, who is he? Why haven't we seen him before? A 5 or 6-year-old child pulled a 12 or 13-year-old girl next to him and asked suspiciously, Didn't you hear Grandpa and the others call him Feiyang? I guess he is Grandpa's grandson, Qin Feiyang, the girl whispered. Qin Feiyang? Sister, are you talking about Qin Feiyang who saved our great Qin? The child asked. That should be him. The girl nodded. He's my idol. The child's eyes lit up. Hearing the conversation between the child and the girl, Lu Yun and the others couldn't help but shake their heads and laugh. Feiyang, do you see? Now in Great Qin, whether it's a child or a young person, they all have you as their goal. Lu Yun smiled. That's a good thing. It can stimulate their fighting spirit. Qin Feiyang smiled. Lu Yun smiled, poured a cup of tea, and pushed it in front of Qin Feiyang, saying, I know you like tea. Qin Feiyang picked up the teacup and put it at the tip of his nose. The fragrance of the tea assailed his nostrils, and then he took a sip. Although it was very ordinary, even the best tea couldn't compare to this taste, because this taste was full of love. How is it? Lu Yun asked with a smile. It's delicious. Qin Feiyang nodded. You brat. This is just ordinary tea that we grew ourselves. How good can it be? Lu Yun shook his head and smiled. This is the taste of home. Qin Feiyang smiled foolishly. The taste of home. Lu Yun and the others murmured as they looked at Qin Feiyang. Although it seemed like a simple sentence, they could feel a strong sense of bitterness in it. Feiyang, what have you been through all these years? Second Grandpa asked. Although it's only been a few hundred years, I've been through too much. Qin Feiyang sighed. Lu Yun and the others looked at him curiously. Especially Lu Xiaofei and his sister. Their eyes were full of anticipation. Qin Feiyang looked at everyone and said with a smile, It's not easy for us to be reunited. Let's not talk about this. You're right. It's not easy to be reunited. Let's not talk about something too heavy. Second Grandpa nodded and smiled. Third Grandpa looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, So, only you came back this time? This? Qin Feiyang hesitated and said telepathically, Great-grandmother, are you coming out? We've already discussed it. We won't go out. Tantai Li's voice soon sounded in Qin Feiyang's mind. Why? Qin Feiyang was puzzled. It's not easy to be reunited, but it's even harder to part. We'll have to leave sooner or later. I don't want to be too sad. Tantai Li said. All right. Qin Feiyang responded secretly. He looked at Lu Yun and the others and said with a smile, Yes, we're the only ones who came back. So, you're still leaving? Lu Yun asked. Yes. I just happened to return to the divine site again, so I thought of coming back to see you, Qin Feiyang said. This, Lu Yun and the others looked at each other, and there was a trace of reluctance in their eyes. They thought that Qin Feiyang would not leave again after coming back. They did not expect that he would only come back to see them. Don't think so much. A man has ambitions. Besides, Feiyang is destined to be extraordinary. Fourth Grandpa said, Yes, a man should be responsible. If you're tired in the future, you can come home. We'll always be your support. Lu Yun looked at Qin Feiyang and said, Thank you, Grandpa. Qin Feiyang was touched and smiled. We're all family. What's there to thank? Lu Yun rolled his eyes at Qin Feiyang and said, But then again, Lu Zheng and Lu Hong's child is already so big. What about you? Me? Qin Feiyang was stunned. You have to work hard too. I think the little girl from the mermaid clan is quite good. Lu Yun said. Yes. What about the little girl? She didn't come back either? Is it because you didn't take good care of her outside and made her leave in anger? Second Grandpa looked at Qin Feiyang and frowned. Made her leave in anger? Qin Feiyang was speechless. Second Grandpa's imagination was really rich. In short, you have to hurry up. Look at how powerful your father is. In a few hundred years, there are already a lot of princes and princesses below. Second Grandpa said, What? A lot. Qin Feiyang was stunned. The white-eyed wolf was also very shocked. Yes, you don't know, right? You have more than a dozen brothers and sisters. Second Grandpa said, There are more than a dozen? Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf looked at each other. The white-eyed wolf asked, Who gave birth to them? Of course. It was my daughter at that time. Lu Yun stared at the white-eyed wolf. Your daughter? The white-eyed wolf was stunned. Lu Yun's daughter was Qin Feiyang's mother, wasn't she? What was going on? She actually gave birth to more than a dozen brothers and sisters for Qin Feiyang? This was completely different from those princes and princesses in the past. Those princes and princesses in the past were also Qin Feiyang's brothers and sisters, but they were not of the same mother. But now, these were his biological brothers and sisters. This surprise came too suddenly. Qin Feiyang came to his senses and said with a smile, So, father is really quite capable. In fact, your father didn't want to have so many children. He just wanted to live the rest of his life with your mother peacefully. But your great-grandpa Emperor Hong and your grandfather Emperor Chun didn't allow it. They said that you and Hao Yan can't be the only ones left in the Qin clan. There's no other way. Your father and mother can only work hard. Lu Yun said with a smile. Hao Yin. Qin Feiyang whispered, and a small figure appeared in his mind. Lu Yun said, Hao Yin has also grown up. He is no longer the little prince. Qin Feiyang asked, how is he now? Very good. Although he hasn't been officially crowned the crown prince, it's only a matter of time. But, Lu Yun said and fell silent. Does he still hate me? Qin Feiyang asked.
Yes.
It's also because of this hatred that he works exceptionally hard. Ever since you left, he has basically been in seclusion. Even we have a hard time seeing him. Half a month ago, I went to the Emperor Palace and heard from Emperor Hong that he had broken through to 3-star Combat Emperor. Lu Yun said, 3-star Combat Emperor? Qin Feiyang was stunned. It was indeed a bit fast. Of course, it's also your credit that he can be so fast, Lu Yun said with a smile. What credit can I have? Qin Feiyang shook his head. Of course, if it wasn't for the pill formulas you left behind, how could he open the door of potential? If he didn't open the door of potential, how could he break through to 3-star Combat Emperor so quickly? Lu Yun said, the door of potential is indeed important, but his talent is also not bad. Qin Feiyang smiled. That's true. After all, he has already awakened his bloodline power. Lu Yun nodded. What? Qin Feiyang's body trembled as he looked at Lu Yun in shock. As early as 100 years ago, his bloodline power had already awakened. Now, he is already the third person in your Qin clan to possess the purple gold dragon blood, Lu Yun said. Chapter 2 will be released at 11 o'clock. Chapter 2755. He also awakened his bloodline power? The white-eyed wolf muttered. That's good news. Qin Feiyang smiled. The white-eyed wolf glanced at Qin Feiyang and said, don't forget, he still hates you. So? Don't tell me you're going to kill him in the cradle. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Him? Even if he awakened his bloodline power, he won't be a threat to us, the white-eyed wolf said disdainfully. That's all there is to it. The Qin clan has a third person with purple gold dragon blood. It's a joyous occasion no matter how you look at it. Our ancestors will be happy if they know about it, Qin Feiyang said with a smile. The white-eyed wolf pursed his lips and looked at Lu Yun. Did he get the dragon god technique?
Yes.
Lu Yun nodded and looked at Qin Feiyang. He also fused with the essence blood you left behind. Now, he has pure purple gold dragon blood like you. Although the people of the Qin clan would possess the purple gold dragon blood due to atavism, it would not be pure. Just like Qin Feiyang, it was only after fusing with a drop of essence blood left by Qin Batian that his bloodline power turned into pure purple gold dragon blood. Back then, before Qin Feiyang left, he refined dozens of drops of essence blood to fuse with the descendants of the Qin clan. But he did not expect that the first beneficiary would be the little prince who hated him. Lu Yun asked, Feiyang, should we call them over? Them? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Yes. For example, your father, mother, Emperor Hong, Emperor Chun. They're also looking forward to your return every day, Lu Yun said. It's not that troublesome. Anyway, I'm going to the palace tomorrow. Qin Feiyang waved his hand. All right then. Lu Yun nodded. Qin Feiyang looked at second grandpa and asked, Uncle He, why didn't I see him? He's in seclusion. Someone has probably already gone to call him. Second grandpa said with a smile. Sure enough, it's you. As soon as he finished speaking, a dark-skinned man in black clothes flew through the air like lightning and landed in the courtyard. Uncle Black. Qin Feiyang stood up and looked at the big man with a smile. Qin Feiyang had a deep impression of this man. This was because he had represented the Lu family in the past. He was forthright and treated him very well. Not bad, not bad. Uncle He sized up Qin Feiyang for a moment, and his eyes were a little moist. He patted Qin Feiyang's shoulder and said with a smile, Let's get drunk tonight. All right. Qin Feiyang nodded. Uncle He glanced at Lu Xiaofei and said, Why are you still standing there? Hurry up and get me a stool. You only know how to order people around. Lu Xiaofei grumbled unhappily. What's wrong? I asked you to get me a stool. Do you have any objections? Uncle Hay said angrily. I don't dare. I don't dare. I'll just stay here. Lu Xiaofei quickly waved his hand and ran toward the house at the side. This brat. Uncle Hay shook his head and scolded with a smile. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said, Do you know whose child he is? I know. Qin Feiyang nodded. Uncle Hay asked, Then what about your child? Cough, cough. Qin Feiyang choked on his saliva. He really hadn't changed at all. He would say whatever he thought and never beat around the bush. Uncle Hay frowned and said, Don't tell me that you haven't married Xiaoyu yet? You guys aren't here. If we get married in private, wouldn't that be disrespectful to you guys? Qin Feiyang smiled. You only know how to say nice things. Uncle Hay rolled his eyes at Qin Feiyang. The stool is here. The stool is here. Lu Xiaofei carried a stool and ran out. Uncle Hay took the stool and looked at Lu Xiaofei. He nodded and said, You have already broken through to 2-star battle ancestor. Not bad. You didn't slack off. You guys are all supervising me. How would I dare to slack off? Lu Xiaofei pouted. Brat. Uncle Hay glanced at Lu Xiaofei's forehead and put down the stool. He sat together with Qin Feiyang and asked, Feiyang, how have you been these years? Not bad. Qin Feiyang nodded. Good? Actually, it wasn't good. Ever since he entered the ancient world, he had been chased by dragons. But there was no need to tell everyone about this, lest they worried with him. That's good. Uncle Hay nodded and said with a smile, I watched you grow up. As long as you are doing well, I am happy. Thank you, Uncle Hay. Qin Feiyang was touched. Uncle Hay looked at Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf and said with a frown, Speaking of which, your cultivation is a little ridiculous. I can't see through it at all. It's normal for a mere false god to not see through our cultivation. The white-eyed wolf said, False god? Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned. Only now did he notice that Uncle Hay had also stepped into the false god realm. He smiled and said, Congratulations, Uncle Hay. Your Uncle Hay's talent is not bad. In the past, because he had to hide in the imperial capital and gather information, he delayed his cultivation. Second Grandpa smiled and said, Uncle Hay was his disciple, so he naturally knew. My talent is nothing in front of Feiyang. Uncle Hay waved his hand and then looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, Feiyang, what is your cultivation level now? Lu Yun and the others, as well as Lu Xiaofei and his sister, all looked at Qin Feiyang curiously. Ninth Heaven Realm, Qin Feiyang said. Ninth Heaven Realm? Everyone was slightly stunned. What kind of realm was that? They had never heard of it before. The people of Great Qin and the Forgotten Continent only knew of the War God Realm at most. However, Lu Yun and the others also knew of the God Realm. This was because Qin Yuan and the Snow Python were both half-step God Realm. However, they knew nothing about the God Realm. Above the God Realm is the God Realm. Above the God Realm is the Paragon God Realm, and above that is the Ninth Heaven Realm. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, There are so many realms above the God Realm? Uncle Hay was shocked. Yes, there's another realm above the Ninth Heaven Realm, the Imperishable Realm. The Imperishable Realm is called the Paragon Realm. In the ancient world I'm in, the Imperishable Realm is the strongest realm, Qin Feiyang said. I didn't expect the path of cultivation to be so long. Lu Yun sighed. Second Grandpa and the others also sighed. They thought that a half-step God Realm cultivator like Qin Yuan was already the strongest. However, they didn't expect there to be so many realms above the God Realm. Lu Xiaofei asked, Uncle, according to what you said, a half-step God Realm cultivator is only a small figure in the ancient world? The white-eyed wolf said, They're not even trash, so how can they be small figures? Lu Xiaofei was stunned. A God Realm cultivator in the ancient world is like a mortal in Great Qin. Do you understand this concept? The white-eyed wolf said. Lu Xiaofei was shocked. To him, this was already far beyond his imagination. The white-eyed wolf said again, A war master like you is nothing. Hearing this, Lu Xiaofei shook his head and smiled bitterly. There was always a higher mountain. This sentence was indeed true. The ancient world. It was a place that people yearned for. Uncle Hay was also shocked. You're in the Ninth Heaven Realm, and the Imperishable Realm is the strongest. Doesn't that mean you're only one step away? Although it's only one step away from the imperishable realm, the difference is like heaven and earth. But the Lu family and the Qin family also have imperishable realm cultivators, Qin Feiyang said with a smile. What do you mean? The group of people was shocked. Qin Feiyang said, the two ancestors are still alive. Swish. Lu Yun and the others suddenly stood up and looked at Qin Feiyang excitedly. They're also in the ancient world. And in the ancient world, they're just as famous as they were in Great Qin, Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Really? Lu Yun asked. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. They're still alive. Lu Yun murmured, his body trembling uncontrollably. As for their cultivation, they've already reached the greater mastery of the imperishable realm. In the ancient world, they're also top experts, Qin Feiyang said with admiration. Then why didn't they come back? Lu Yun asked. Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and said with a smile, they still have a mission to complete. What kind of mission can make them abandon their descendants and not return for thousands of years? Fourth Grandpa suddenly said angrily. This. Qin Feiyang looked at Fourth Grandpa. He didn't expect Fourth Grandpa to have such a big reaction. But thinking about it, it was understandable. Lu Zhengyang was the ancestor of the Lu family, but he abandoned the descendants of the Lu family and went to the ancient world alone. So it was normal for Fourth Grandpa to be angry. Fourth Grandpa, calm down. We should be happy about this. Second Grandpa scolded. Fourth Grandpa looked at everyone, took a deep breath, and said apologetically, sorry, I forgot myself. Qin Feiyang smiled and looked at Fourth Grandpa. I can't tell you what the two ancestors did now, but please believe me. They're really great. I believe that. Fourth Grandpa nodded and sighed. So, you're also staying in the ancient world to help them? After all, I'm their descendant. It's good that I can do something. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. You can do it too. Unlike us, even if we know, we can't do anything. Fourth Grandpa said. You don't have to think like that. Because in our hearts, it's our blessing that you don't have to worry. Qin Feiyang said. Good boy. Fourth Grandpa nodded, feeling gratified. All right. I've said it just now. Don't talk about such a heavy topic. Second Grandpa looked at Fourth Grandpa helplessly. Yes. It's my fault. Fourth Grandpa nodded repeatedly, looking very apologetic. The good atmosphere was ruined like this. It's fine. It's just a casual chat. Qin Feiyang waved his hand. Uncle, this is your first time back. Don't you have a greeting gift? Lu Xiaofei rolled his eyes and looked at Qin Feiyang with a flattering smile. Qin Feiyang looked at Lu Xiaofei in shock. Uncle, there's me. Lu Xiaojia also came up and giggled. Wait. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and looked at Lu Yun and the others. Grandpa, Second Grandpa, why are they calling me uncle? Hearing that, Lu Yun and the others smiled bitterly. Seeing that, Qin Feiyang was puzzled. Was there something else? Lu Yun smiled and said, according to your relationship with the Lu family, the siblings shouldn't call you uncle, but that's what Lu Hong wants. Lu Hong wants? Qin Feiyang and White-Eyed Wolf looked at each other, and the suspicion in their eyes grew. Chapter 2756. Here's the thing. Lu Yun pondered for a while and said with a smile, when Xiaofei was born, your father and mother were also present. Everything went well, but when you were mentioned, Xiao Hong suddenly said she wanted to call you uncle. Qin Feiyang was stunned. At first, we couldn't accept it like you. Isn't it nonsense? Later, under our questioning, Xiao Hong told us the truth. So it's because of your relationship. In your eyes, you have always regarded her as your biological sister. She also regarded you as her biological brother. Although you are not related by blood, your relationship has reached this point, and when Lu Hong and Lu Zheng got married, you seem to have said that you were a member of her family. So, she asked Xiao Fei and Xiao Jia to call you uncle. After hearing what she said, we discussed it for a while and agreed. Lu Yun said with a smile, I see. Qin Feiyang suddenly understood. Now that he put it this way, it was quite reasonable. Furthermore, In order to make this matter more reasonable, your father and mother even took Lu Hong as their adopted daughter on the spot. In other words, you and Xiao Hong are now real siblings. Lu Yun said. Adopted daughter? In that case, Xiao Fei and Xiao Jia have to call me parents, grandfather, and grandmother now, right? Qin Feiyang asked. Yes, they have always called me that. Lu Yun nodded. Haha, that's not bad. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Yes, after all, Xiao Hong doesn't have any relatives. This way, she has a sense of sustenance and comfort in her heart. Lu Yun said. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. Since she calls little Qinzi uncle, she should also call me uncle. You two, hurry up and call me uncle. Let me hear it. White-eyed Wolf looked at the siblings and grinned. Call you uncle? Lu Xiaofei looked at the white-eyed wolf with disdain. Why are you looking at me like that? Do you know how powerful I am? White-eyed Wolf said angrily. Lu Xiaofei muttered. You are indeed powerful, but you are a wolf. So what if it's a wolf? Given my relationship with little Qinzi, you still have to call me uncle. Hurry up, or I'll beat you up. The white-eyed wolf glared fiercely at the siblings. The siblings' faces were filled with helplessness. They lowered their heads and said, Greetings, Uncle Wolf. The white-eyed wolf said, Remove the wolf. Uncle. The siblings looked aggrieved. How could it be like this? It was a wolf to begin with, so why was it not allowed to howl? That's more like it. The white-eyed wolf laughed and looked at Qin Feiyang. Little Qinzi, hurry up and give my two nephews a gift. Aren't you also their uncle? Why should I give it to them? Qin Feiyang said with a dark face. Fuck. Aren't all the treasures we looted in the ancient world with you? The white-eyed wolf said angrily. Looted? The siblings were stunned. They looked at Qin Feiyang and asked suspiciously, Uncle, are you bandits in the ancient world? Ahem. Qin Feiyang was drinking tea and choked on it. He glared at the white-eyed wolf and said, Can you not talk nonsense in front of the children? Isn't this ruining my impression of them? Humph. The white-eyed wolf showed a disdainful look. Qin Feiyang glared at it angrily. Then he looked at Lu Xiaofei and his sister and said with a smile, Don't listen to your Uncle Wolf's nonsense. I'm not a bandit. I'm robbing the rich to help the poor. I'm afraid you're the only one in this world who can describe robbing in such a refreshing and refined way. The white-eyed wolf despised him. That's enough. Qin Feiyang glared at the white-eyed wolf. He lowered his head and pondered for a while. Then he looked at the siblings and said, I do have a lot of divine objects here. As soon as they heard the words divine objects, the siblings' eyes lit up. His uncle's strength was so strong. Then the divine item that he spoke of was definitely not an ordinary item. Qin Feiyang said again, But it may not be a good thing to give these things to you. Why? Lu Xiaofei was suspicious. Because you're too weak. Giving them to you may make you arrogant and bite off more than you can chew. Qin Feiyang said, It won't. I promise. Lu Xiaofei raised his hand and made a solemn vow. Lu Xiaojia also nodded repeatedly. Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. After pondering for a while, he took out a battle sword and a long staff. It was the coiling dragon rod and the azure phoenix sword. He had always been the one to use these two legendary artifacts in the past, but now, it didn't seem to be of much use to him. This azure phoenix sword is for you. Qin Feiyang handed the azure phoenix sword to Lu Xiaojia. This coiling dragon rod is for you. Qin Feiyang handed the coiling dragon rod to Lu Xiaofei. Is this a divine artifact? The siblings asked. Aren't you guys talking nonsense? Not only are they divine artifacts, but they are also legendary divine artifacts. The white-eyed wolf said, Legendary divine artifact? The siblings were stunned. The white-eyed wolf said, You won't understand even if I tell you. In short, it's very powerful. More powerful than Grandma's 10,000 Beasts diagram and Grandpa Yan's divine phoenix blade? Lu Xiaojia asked. 10,000 Beasts diagram? Divine phoenix blade? The white-eyed wolf was slightly stunned, as if he was searching for his dusty memories. Soon, then, it recalled what had happened. They did have the 10,000 Beasts diagram and the divine phoenix blade. However, when they left the Great Qin Feiyang gave them to his mother and Yen Wei. Of course, the divine phoenix blade and the 10,000 beasts diagram are not on the same level as the azure phoenix sword, the white-eyed wolf said proudly. So powerful? The siblings' eyes lit up as they immediately stepped forward to receive the azure phoenix sword and the coiling dragon rod. They were overjoyed. Lu Yun looked at the siblings and asked, Fei Yong, how powerful is this legendary divine artifact? Divine artifacts, as you know, are low-grade, middle-grade, high-grade, and supreme-grade. But there are even more powerful divine artifacts above supreme-grade divine artifacts. Peak level, legendary level, supreme level, and heaven-defying level. For example, the Azure Phoenix Sword and the Coiling Dragon Rod are rare even in the ancient world. Qin Feiyang laughed. What? Lu Yun and the others were stunned. Second Grandpa hurriedly said, Since it's such a powerful divine artifact, why did you give it to them? You should keep it for yourself. Don't worry, Second Grandpa. Although legendary divine artifacts are powerful, they are not very useful in my hands. Besides, I have divine artifacts that are even more powerful than legendary level. Qin Feiyang laughed. I see. Second Grandpa was enlightened. There are divine artifacts that are even more powerful than legendary level? The brother and sister looked at Qin Feiyang with adoration. This uncle was indeed amazing. I will give you 2 divine arts on behalf of your Uncle Wolf. Qin Feiyang smiled and searched in the interspatial ring for a while. He found 2 jade slips and gave them to the siblings. These are also legendary level divine arts. Thank you, Uncle. The siblings were overjoyed. What about me? Aren't you going to thank me? The white-eyed wolf looked at the siblings unhappily. Thank you, Uncle Wolf. The siblings looked at the white-eyed wolf and thanked him. Remove the word wolf, the white-eyed wolf said with a darkened face. The siblings chuckled and lowered their heads to size up the divine artifacts and jade slips. Their faces were filled with excitement. Legendary divine artifact, legendary level divine art. What a big deal. Lu Yun and the others looked at each other and were shocked. Legendary level. They had never heard of divine artifacts and divine arts of this level. Qin Feiyang looked at the siblings and his face suddenly turned cold. He said, I gave you the divine arts and divine artifacts so that you would have the ability to protect yourselves in the face of life and death. I'm not letting you use them to bully others. If I find out that you are like those playboys, I won't show you any mercy even if you are my nephews. Do you understand? Qin Feiyang imperceptibly emitted a great majesty. Under this pressure, the brother and sister were practically unable to breathe. Yes, yes. The siblings nodded quickly. Good. In short, you must be down to earth and not bite off more than you can chew. When Qin Feiyang withdrew his pressure, the siblings felt as if they had been pardoned. They also found that their bodies were covered in cold sweat. The siblings were shocked. This uncle's strength was too terrifying. Just a little bit of pressure made them feel like they were facing the god of death. They didn't know. This was nothing at all. If Qin Feiyang really released his pressure, they would instantly explode and die. In fact, Lu Yun and the others were a little worried at first. After all, the siblings were still young. It was inevitable for them to be arrogant after suddenly receiving such powerful divine artifacts and divine arts. But now, after being threatened by Qin Feiyang, it shouldn't be a problem. Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and took out 20 jade slips and gave them to Lu Yun. This is... Lu Yun was surprised. Uncle Black, Second Grandpa, and the others also looked at the jade slips suspiciously. Grandfather, Uncle Black, Second Grandpa, these are all supreme-level divine arts. Consider it a little gift from me to you. Qin Feiyang said. What? Supreme-level divine arts? Lu Yun and the others were dumbfounded. Lu Xiaofei and his sister also looked at the jade slips in shock. No wonder their uncle didn't even blink when he gave them the legendary divine arts. It turned out that there were so many supreme-level divine arts. Lu Yun came back to his senses and quickly looked at Qin Feiyang. Feiyang, this, grandfather. These divine arts are not very useful to me, but to you, they are definitely heaven-defying. Moreover, with these divine arts, your strength will increase greatly. I can rest assured in the ancient world. Qin Feiyang smiled. Okay, grandfather won't be polite with you. Lu Yun waved his hand and put the 20 jade slips into his Qinkuan bag. Qin Feiyang smiled and checked the Qinkuan ring. Suddenly, he raised his eyebrows and looked at the white-eyed wolf. Where is the supreme level divine artifact? It's with the lunatic, the white-eyed wolf said. Qin Feiyang was stunned. When you were fighting with the fire dragon, you were seriously injured and unconscious. The supreme level divine artifact fell all over the ground. The lunatic saw that the old woman and the others were greedy, so he took them all. The white-eyed wolf said, I see. Qin Feiyang nodded. Fire dragon? Seriously injured and unconscious? Supreme level divine artifact fell all over the ground? Lu Yun and the others looked at each other. This was too much information. Feiyang, when did you get seriously injured and unconscious? Have you recovered from your injuries? Lu Yun looked at Qin Feiyang with concern. I'm fine now. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. That's good. Lu Yun heaved a sigh of relief. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and hundreds of divine artifacts appeared. He looked at Lu Yun and smiled. Grandfather, although there are no supreme-level divine artifacts, these legendary divine artifacts are enough to protect the Lu family for thousands of years. Moreover, the legendary divine artifacts will slowly evolve into supreme-level divine artifacts as time passes. When he fought with the fire dragon, he used supreme-level divine artifacts, so the legendary divine artifacts were still in his Qinkuan ring. So many? Once again, everyone was flabbergasted. Over 100 legendary divine artifacts. That was too many. Lu Xiaofei and his sister looked at Qin Feiyang with even more admiration. Chapter 2757. At this moment, the Lu family had a brand new understanding of this world. This also confirmed the saying that there was always someone better than you. When you reached the peak of this world and were proud of yourself, you didn't know that there was another world that was even stronger. A 7- or 8-year-old child mumbled, So many legendary artifacts. How much are they worth? How much are they worth? Qin Feiyang, White-Eyed Wolf, Uncle He, Lu Yun, and the others were speechless when they heard this. How could this be measured by money? Every single one of these teleportation artifacts was a priceless treasure. And one day, these legendary artifacts could all evolve into supreme artifacts. At that time, they would be even more terrifying. Children's words carry no harm. Second grandpa laughed hoarsely. Ha ha! Lu Yun laughed heartily and said, Today, it's not only us old men who have widened our horizons, it's also the younger generation. It's a profound lesson for them. That's right. Knowing the true strength of this world will be of great help to their future growth. Third grandpa nodded. Xiaofei, Xiaojia, in the future, your goal is no longer to catch up with us old men, but to catch up with your uncle, or even Xiaoyu. Fourth grandpa looked at the Lu siblings, and a rare look of encouragement appeared on his serious face. Don't worry, great-grandpa. We will work hard. The brother and sister stood at attention and said in high spirits, Hee. The grandfathers chuckled. Lu Yun waved his hand, and the hundreds of legendary artifacts disappeared into his Qinkuan bag. Uncle He smacked his lips and looked at Qin Feiyang. You gave us hundreds of legendary artifacts this time. You must have a lot on you. It's okay. Qin Feiyang nodded. What do you mean by okay? We have a total of 16,000 legendary artifacts and techniques. Qin Feiyang wanted to keep a low profile, but White-Eyed Wolf didn't want to. What? 16,000? Everyone looked at each other. This was too scary. It was far beyond their imagination. Cough, cough. Uncle Black was also badly frightened. He coughed a few times and shook his head. I can't ask anymore. Otherwise, my little heart won't be able to take it. Ha ha. The White-Eyed Wolf laughed proudly. He looked at Uncle Black and said, Do you want to know how many heaven-defying divine artifacts we have? Heaven-defying divine artifact? Uncle Black was stunned. That's right. Heaven-defying divine artifacts. They are above paragon divine artifacts. There are only a handful of them in the entire ancient realm. The White-Eyed Wolf said, So powerful? Uncle Black was shocked. Of course, with the power of a heaven-defying divine artifact, if it fully awakens, even a tiny place like Great Chin will be instantly destroyed, White-Eyed Wolf said proudly. These words were not false. Great Chin's territory was not even 1/10 the size of the ancient world's northern domain, let alone the Divine Land. The Divine Land was only in the north, but it was several times larger than the northern region. Instant annihilation. Lu Yun and the others exchanged glances, their eyes filled with shock. What kind of divine weapon could possess such terrifying power? White-Eyed Wolf, have you had enough? Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. The White-Eyed Wolf said to himself, isn't this letting them broaden their horizons? These things are already beyond their scope of understanding. It might not be a good thing to tell them. Qin Feiyang transmitted his voice. That seems to be the case. The White-Eyed Wolf muttered. At this moment, Lu Hong and Lu Zhang walked over. Looking at everyone's expression, Lu Hong smiled and said, "What are you all talking about? Why do you all look like this?" "Mother, you don't know how powerful Uncle is." That's right, that's right. Uncle even gave us divine artifacts and techniques." Lu Xiaofei and his sister ran to Lu Hong's side and said excitedly, "Divine artifacts? Techniques?" Lu Hong was curious. The brother and sister immediately began to talk excitedly. After listening, Lu Hong's face was full of smiles. Sure enough, no matter where this man went, he was the center of attention. "Little cousin, you've really hit the jackpot." Lu Zheng approached Qin Feiyang and said with a smile, "Don't forget me, your brother. You're already the father of 2 children. Don't you feel embarrassed?" Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes. "We're all family. What's there to be embarrassed about? Besides, as a father, I can't be worse than 2 children." Lu Zheng pursed his lips. "I'm afraid only you can say such shameless words in this world." Lu Hong shook her head. Lu Zheng didn't care at all. Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. "When I gave Grandpa the divine artifacts and techniques, I included your share." "That's more like it." Lu Zheng smiled. "Didn't you go to prepare for the banquet? Why did you come back so quickly?" Second Grandpa asked. "I'm the head of the Lu family now. Do you need me to prepare in person?" "I just went to arrange it," Lu Zheng said. "What's so great about being the head of the Lu family?" Second Grandpa glared at him. "No, no." Lu Zheng quickly waved his hand and said with a flattering smile, "In front of you, I can only serve tea and water." Second Grandpa chuckled and said, "You're all fathers, but you're still so naughty. I know you 2 brothers have a lot to talk about. Okay, you guys talk. We old guys will go prepare." Second Grandpa, "You're so considerate." Lu Zheng was very touched. "Brat." Second Grandpa glared at him, then looked at Lu Yun and the others and said with a smile, "Big brother, third brother, fourth brother, let's give these young people some time alone." "Okay." Lu Yun nodded with a smile and waved his hand. "Let's go. We'll meet again tonight." "Okay." The villagers and children turned around and left with a smile. Soon, only Qin Feiyang, White-Eyed Wolf, Lu Hong, Lu Zheng, Lu Xiaofei and his sister were left. Lu Zheng looked at the siblings and waved his hand. "You 2 get out of here too." "No." Lu Xiaofei shook his head. "Bastard, are you looking for a beating?" Lu Zheng glared at him. Lu Xiaofei's neck suddenly shrank. It seemed that he had been beaten by Lu Zheng often. Lu Hong looked at the siblings and said with a smile, "Be good. Go." "Okay." The siblings nodded reluctantly. After the 2 left, Lu Zheng and Lu Hong sat at the stone table. They looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, "How long are you going to stay this time?" Qin Feiyang thought for a while and said with a smile, "I'm going to stay for a few hundred years." "A few hundred years?" Lu Zheng was stunned. They originally thought that it would be a few days at most. Qin Feiyang said, "Do you still remember the 3rd level of the miracle?" "The 3rd level?" Lu Zheng murmured. There was a trace of sadness in his eyes. He nodded and said, "Of course I remember." Obviously, he was thinking about Lu Jiejin's death. The 3rd level is also called the Hell of the Nether King. Because of some circumstances, we entered the Hell of the Nether King to train. The time limit is 1,000 years. Only 200 years have passed so far, so there are still more than 700 years left. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. You mean, when the time limit of 1,000 years is up, you will return to the hell of the Nether King, and then return to the ancient realm? Lu Zheng asked.
Yes.
Qin Feiyang nodded. That's good. We can take the opportunity to have a good gathering. Lu Zheng smiled, thought for a while, and said, Actually, everyone is back, right? Qin Feiyang thought for a while and nodded. Yes, they are all in the Black Tortoise realm. I knew it.
But it's understandable.
After all, they will leave sooner or later. When the time comes, they will be sad when they part. Lu Zheng smiled. Yes. Qin Feiyang sighed. Lu Zheng asked, What about Big Brother and the inner demons? Are you sure they are not? Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. Hee. The luck and hope in their hearts were destroyed in the end. Lu Zheng shook his head. Like Qin Feiyang, he still did not believe that Lu Jiajin and the inner demons were dead. This was because whether it was the inner demons or Lu Jiajin, he had deep feelings for them. Needless to say, Lu Jiajin was his biological brother. As for the inner demons, although they were arrogant and cold in the past, they were really good to everyone. Especially when the demon ancestor and Mu Tianyang fought, it could be said that the inner demons were the greatest contributors. Don't be too sad. Qin Feiyang comforted him. Same here. Lu Zheng smiled. In fact, he also knew that Qin Feiyang must be feeling as sad as him. He was just pretending to be free and easy. White-Eyed Wolf suddenly said, Lu Zheng, Little Hong, your children's names seem a little strange. Strange? Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned. What was strange? Why didn't he notice? When Lu Hong and Lu Zheng heard this, a hint of a smile flashed in their eyes. Lu Zheng looked at Qin Feiyang and said with a smile, Their names are actually a memorial to the inner demons and Big Brother. Memorial? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. That's right. Lu Zheng nodded. White-Eyed Wolf said, Little Qin Zi, didn't you notice that Lu Xiaofei and Lu Xiaojia's names have the word Fei and the word Jia? Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded in realization. The inner demons were born because of you. So the inner demons are also Qin Feiyang. When Little Hong was pregnant with Little Fei, Little Hong and I discussed it. In order to commemorate the inner demons and Big Brother, the boy will be called Little Fei and the girl will be called Little Jia. There's no need to say the word Fei. As for Jia, Jia and Jia have the same pronunciation. Compared to the latter, Jia is more suitable for girls. But I didn't expect that after Little Fei, we would have a daughter. It just so happens that we can use both names. Lu Zheng said with a smile. Hearing this, Qin Feiyang looked at Lu Hong and Lu Zheng and sighed. Thank you for your concern. We are also afraid. We are afraid that if too much time passes, we will forget them one day. And now, every time we see Little Fei and Little Jia, we can think of them, so we will never forget them. Although they are dead, they will always live in our hearts. Lu Zheng said with a smile. Yes, they will always live in our hearts. Qin Feiyang nodded. The atmosphere at the scene was a little heavy. White-Eyed Wolf said, All right, it's not easy for us to get together. Let's not talk about these painful topics. Yes. We should be happy. I believe that the inner demons and Big Brother also want us to live happily in the underworld. Lu Hong said with a smile. Yes. Lu Zheng and Qin Feiyang nodded. Qin Feiyang said with a smile, Little cousin, I have a kind of superb tea. Do you want to try it? What kind of superb tea? Lu Zheng was curious. Qin Feiyang took out a teapot and said with a smile, This tea is not for sale? Is it that exaggerated? Lu Zheng pursed his lips. Lu Hong also opened the teapot curiously. When she smelled the tea fragrance that wafted out, her eyes suddenly lit up. She used to be by Qin Feiyang's side. Because Qin Feiyang liked to drink tea, she also knew a lot about tea. At a glance, she could tell that it was not an ordinary tea. P.S. Chapter 2, released at 11 o'clock. Chapter 2758. Is it that exaggerated? Quickly brew a pot, and let me try it. Lu Zheng pouted when he saw Lu Hong's reaction. For someone like you who doesn't know anything about tea, it would be a waste to drink it. Lu Hong rolled her eyes at him, but she also got to work. It didn't take long for her to finish brewing. Lu Zheng took a sip and said in disdain, How is this different from the tea we usually drink? Sigh.
It's unteachable.
Lu Hong shook her head. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and transmitted his voice. Hua Yi, give me a few pots of celestial immortal wine. No. Hua Yi's voice immediately rang out in Qin Feiyang's mind. No? Qin Feiyang was stunned and secretly said, before entering the Netherworld King's Hell, you and the five-clawed golden dragon went to the Eastern Tomb and almost emptied the Heaven Immortal Tower's wine cellar. Now, you're telling me that you didn't? We drank it all. Hua Yi replied. Can you guys drink it all? Hurry up. Otherwise, don't think that I'll lend you guys the space-time gate. Qin Feiyang threatened. You win, but at most 10 pots. No more, Hua Yi said angrily. To people who were addicted to wine, celestial immortal wine was a peerless divine wine. No matter how much money was offered, they wouldn't exchange it for it. Fine. Qin Feiyang secretly smiled. Very soon, 10 pots of celestial immortal wine appeared on the ground beside them. This is? Lu Zheng looked over in surprise. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, This will definitely be to your liking. Lu Zheng suspiciously picked up a wine pot and opened the lid. A strong wine fragrance immediately drifted out. This, Lu Zheng's eyes instantly lit up. He really didn't know anything about tea, but wine, he understood the profoundness of it. Just this wine fragrance alone indicated that this was a divine wine. He impatiently hugged the wine pot and took a big gulp. Awesome. Little cousin, you don't have to say anything. This is the best gift you've given me. Lu Zheng laughed loudly. Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. This guy's personality was definitely compatible with Hua Yi and the five-clawed golden dragon. White-eyed Wolf glanced at Lu Zheng and said, Little Qin Zi, I think you should do something for the Lu family. What is it? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. Soul line, crystal vein. The white-eyed wolf said, Spirit vein, crystal vein. Qin Feiyang murmured. To Great Qin's people, spirit veins and crystal veins were quite unfamiliar. Even Lu Zheng and Lu Hong had never heard of it. Lu Hong asked suspiciously, What are spirit veins and crystal veins? Qin Feiyang smiled. You still remember the soul stone, right? I remember at that time. Back then, the reason why you were able to break through to War God so quickly was because of the soul stones that the Guo family gave you. But speaking of which, what's the situation with the Guo family's fiancé? Lu Hong was curious. Fiancé? Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned. He shook his head and said, If you didn't mention it now, I would have almost forgotten about this woman. Then is she really your fiancé? Lu Hong asked. No. It's a fake marriage contract made by the Guo family. This matter has been resolved. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Although the Guo family had been resolved, Guo Sueki was still there, and she should be in the ancient castle now. Because Guo Sueki had been following Mu Tianyang all this time. Then she must be in Mu Tianyang's spatial divine item now. However, he didn't care much about this woman. It's good that it's resolved. Then let's talk about spirit veins and crystal veins. Lu Hong said. Soul stones are produced from spirit veins. And crystal veins can also produce a kind of crystal called divine crystal. This divine crystal can recover divine power. After Qin Feiyang finished speaking, he took out a soul stone and divine crystal and handed it to Lu Hong. Lu Hong took it in her hand, looked at it curiously for a while, and then tried to refine and absorb it. As expected, spirit veins and crystal veins are the most precious resources in the ancient world. It can be said that these two things can directly affect the prosperity and decline of a force, Qin Feiyang said with a smile. So precious? Lu Hong was stunned and shook her head. Then you'd better keep it for your own use. You're underestimating your brother. Although spirit veins and crystal veins are precious, can they be a problem for me? Let me tell you the truth. The current Black Tortoise Realm's crystal veins and spirit veins can create hundreds or even thousands of qins. Qin Feiyang smiled confidently. Lu Hong was stunned. If it were anyone else, they would definitely think that Qin Feiyang was exaggerating. However, she wouldn't think so because she knew Qin Feiyang too well. Since he dared to say so, he could definitely do it. How about this? I'll give you 10 level 8 divine crystal veins and spirit veins. Qin Feiyang smiled. Level 8 divine crystal veins? Lu Hong was stunned. Little Hongzi, even in the ancient realm, I reckon that only a few of the strongest forces possess a rank 8 divine spirit vein and crystal vein. The white-eyed wolf said, The strongest forces? Lu Hong's face was full of curiosity. There are always 3 great forces in the ancient world. One of them is the Dragon Slayer Palace. 2 of our ancestors were the founders of the Dragon Slayer Palace. The other is the Treasure Pavilion. The Treasure Pavilion is spread all over the ancient world. Its huge financial resources are even inferior to the Dragon Slayer Palace. The last one is the dragons. The dragons are the rulers of the ancient world. The white-eyed wolf said, Dragons? Lu Hong and Lu Zheng looked at each other, the doubts in their eyes growing stronger. You definitely don't know about dragons, but you've seen the dragon god of dragons. The white-eyed wolf said, Who is it? Lu Zheng asked. Ice Dragon. The white-eyed wolf said, What? It's actually him. Lu Zheng suddenly stood up, killing intent flashing in his eyes. Because the death of Lu Jiajin and the inner demons was related to Ice Dragon. You all know Ice Dragon's strength. I believe you can imagine how powerful the dragons are. You can also imagine how difficult the mission of our 2 ancestors and us is. The white-eyed wolf sighed. I really didn't expect the situation in the ancient world to be so serious. Lu Hong shook her head and sighed. This is why we don't want to say much. You don't care. After all, you've all seen the world. But the others, for example, if the grandpas knew about this, how worried would they be? The white-eyed wolf shook his head. Indeed. Lu Hong nodded. Actually, you don't have to tell us. Because even if we knew, we wouldn't be able to help you. Lu Zheng sighed. Well, we just happened to mention this, so we just said it casually. The white-eyed wolf smiled. All right, you all work hard in the ancient world. We'll support you spiritually in the Great Qin. Lu Zheng smiled. He was quite carefree. Qin Feiyang shook his head and said telepathically, Fire Lotus, did you hear our conversation? Yes. The Fire Lotus responded. Then get ready. Qin Feiyang said to himself. Okay. The Fire Lotus responded and walked out of the ancient castle. Standing above the herb field, with a wave of her hand, 10 spirit veins and crystal veins immediately rushed out from the ground. Outside, Qin Feiyang also got up and flew to the sky above the village. The white-eyed wolf, Lu Zheng, and Lu Hong followed closely behind. Feiyang, what are you doing? Below. Seeing this, the villagers looked at Qin Feiyang curiously and asked, You're all my family members, Qin Feiyang. Of course, I have to give you a gift. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. A gift? Everyone suddenly looked forward to it. Lu Yun and a group of people also walked out of a wooden building with smoke lingering around it. They looked at Qin Feiyang curiously. Qin Feiyang faintly smiled as he raised his arm and lightly waved it. 10 spirit veins and crystal veins immediately appeared above the village. A surge of majestic energy rolled out from the sky above the village, instantly enveloping the entire village. Everyone was surprised. This energy was something they had never seen before. Boom. Suddenly, a 12 or 13-year-old boy's aura emerged uncontrollably and broke through to 3-star martial master in an instant. The young master was stunned. Boom. The next moment, another 15 or 16-year-old girl's cultivation also broke through to 2-star martial grandmaster uncontrollably. It can't be. I've been stuck at 1-star martial grandmaster for several months and couldn't break through no matter how hard I tried. But now, I didn't do anything. How could I break through on my own? The girl was surprised. Boom. Before her voice died away, another old man's cultivation also broke through. The old man was an 8-star battle saint and had been stuck at that level for many years. But at this moment, he also broke through to 9-star battle saint. What's going on? When Lu Yun and the others saw this, their faces were filled with bewilderment. Because not only the boy, the girl, the old man, and many other people's cultivation were also breaking through one after another. This is the power of spirit veins and crystal veins? Lu Hong and Lu Zheng were also dumbfounded by what they saw. That's right. Although people below the false god realm can't refine spirit stones and divine crystals, they can absorb the energy of spirit veins and crystal veins. And this energy can also change everyone's physique. Qin Feiyong said with a smile. No wonder the creatures of the ancient world are so powerful. It's because of these treasures. Lu Zheng suddenly understood. So, crystal veins and spirit veins are the most precious resources in the world. Qin Feiyong smiled and turned to the white-eyed wolf, saying, "Move the whole village." Okay. The white-eyed wolf nodded. Divine power rolled out and enveloped the whole village, then disappeared into the depths of the earth. Rise! The white-eyed wolf shouted and the ground immediately shook. The whole village, including hundreds of miles of land outside the village, was directly uprooted from the ground. Then, a huge, deep pit appeared. Qin Feiyong waved his hand and 10 spirit veins and crystal veins fell into the bottom of the deep pit. The white-eyed wolf also waved its paw and the village slowly fell and returned to its original appearance. Then, in less than 100 breaths, the village was surrounded by clouds and mist like a fairyland. There were also many people whose cultivation was breaking through. What a terrifying energy! Lu Yun and the others were shocked. Even their cultivation was loosening at this moment. Grandfather, you can set up a barrier around the island in the future to prevent the energy from leaking out. Qin Feiyong landed in front of Lu Yun and said with a smile. 10 8th order divine level spirit veins and crystal veins were completely enough. Okay, Lu Yun nodded. Qin Feiyong smiled and turned to look at the white-eyed wolf, saying, "It should be about time." Divine weapons and spirit veins had been given, as well as spirit veins and crystal veins. They had basically done everything they could. Almost. The white-eyed wolf grinned. Then let's go around. Qin Feiyong smiled. Uncle Wolf, will lead the way for you. Lu Xiaofei and his sister hurriedly ran to Qin Feiyong and the white-eyed wolf and said with a smile. Lu Xiaojia's cultivation had also broken through before, which undoubtedly made her admire Qin Feiyong even more. Chapter 2759. Not only is he a blessing for Great Qin, but he's also a blessing for our Lu family. Looking at the departing figure, second grandpa smiled with relief. Yeah, I can imagine how happy Emperor Hong and the others will be when they see this kid tomorrow. Lu Yun nodded with a smile. Haha, I think the happiest ones right now are Lil, Fei and Lil Jia. They're like followers. Uncle He shook his head and laughed. Of course. After all, Feiyong has been his idol since he was young. Let's go. Continue to prepare the banquet. It must be sumptuous. Let Feiyong taste the taste of home. Although hundreds of years had passed, the Lu family had not changed much. Qin Feiyong strolled around, returned to the village, and chatted with the elders in the village. Time flew by. Night fell. The Lu family at night was even more lively. Qin Feiyong did not like to drink, but this night, he also let go of his appetite. The laughter never stopped from beginning to end. And this night, Qin Feiyong also rarely lay on the bed and had a good sleep, because when he returned home, his heart was at ease. The next day, early morning, the sun slowly rose, and all things revived. Qin Feiyong walked out of the room and looked at the grass outside the village entrance. Dozens of children were sitting there, inhaling the vitality. This made Qin Feiyong could not help but recall himself when he was young. Wasn't he like this in the past? In order to become strong, he constantly worked hard. Do your best, children, Qin Feiyong muttered. You're up so early. Lu Yun walked out, looked at Qin Feiyong kindly and asked. It's not early. Qin Feiyong looked at the sun in the sky, turned to look at Lu Yun, and said with a smile, Grandfather, don't you plan to find a wife? Wife? Lu Yun was slightly stunned, and his face immediately darkened. He fiercely knocked Qin Feiyong's head and said angrily, Stinking brat, even joking with grandfather. Ha! Qin Feiyong scratched his head and laughed dryly. Lu Yun rolled his eyes and said, You walk around first. Grandfather will prepare breakfast. After saying that, he walked towards the backyard. I'll help. Qin Feiyong hurriedly followed. We're here to freeload too. Lu Zhang, Lu Hong, second grandpa, third grandpa, fourth grandpa, and Lu Xiaofei and his sister all ran over. Breakfast was simple. There was a pot of millet porridge and a few plates of cooked dishes. It was very light, but very delicious. The whole family sat together and felt very warm. The sun was high in the sky. After Qin Feiyang finished washing the dishes, he looked at the sky and smiled. It's time to go to Imperial City, then go quickly. If Emperor Hong and Emperor Chun knew that we forced you to stay in the Lu family, they would definitely be jealous. Lu Yun smiled. Haha, second grandpa and the others couldn't help but laugh. Qin Feiyang looked at the white-eyed wolf and asked, "What about you? Do you want to stay here or go to the Imperial City with me?" "Of course I'm going to the Imperial City." The white-eyed wolf's eyes rolled around. No one knew what he was thinking. How could Qin Feiyang not know what the white-eyed wolf was thinking? "I think it's better for you to stay here," he said. "In your dreams." The white-eyed wolf snorted. Father, I also want to go to the Imperial City." "And me." Lu Xiaofei and his sister looked at Lu Jing and Lu Hong. Lu Hong was stunned and asked suspiciously, "Why are you going to the Imperial City?" We want to visit Grandma and Grandpa," Lu Xiaofei said. Lu Hong said grumpily, "I think you want to go with your uncle to play. I really can't hide anything from Mother's sharp eyes." Lu Xiaofei smiled embarrassedly. Lu Hong shook her head helplessly and said, "Don't go. Your uncle has just returned and has to meet many old friends. He doesn't have time to play with you." Lu Xiaofei said, "We won't cause trouble for uncle." "Yes, we promise." Lu Xiaojia also nodded. "No." Lu Hong shook her head. "Mother." The brother and sister ran up, each hugging one of Lu Hong's arms and acting coquettishly. Lu Hong's face darkened. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "All right, let them go." Lu Hong was stunned and hurriedly said, "But I'm an adult. Can't I take care of 2 children?" Qin Feiyang smiled. "Don't spoil them too much." Lu Hong shook her head and looked at the brother and sister, saying, "All right, I'll let you go. But remember, you must listen to uncle." "We promise." The brother and sister were overjoyed. Lu Xiaofei immediately opened a portal and urged, Uncle Wolf, let's go, let's go." He looked as if he was afraid that Lu Hong would go back on her words. Qin Feiyang smiled and walked into the portal. Don't talk about it. He missed this portal a little. This was because he had not used the portal since he entered the ancient world. In the Imperial City, this was a symbol of status and a sacred place in the hearts of countless people. As such, compared to the quiet and simple Lu family, this place was bustling and lively. At the city gate, on a small path, 3 people and a dog walked at a leisurely pace. The large black dog said suspiciously, "Little Qinzi, what do you mean?" That was right. These 3 people and a dog were Qin Feiyang, White-Eyed Wolf, Lu Xiaofei, and Lu Xiaojia. But now, they had changed their appearances and dressed very plainly. They even hid their cultivation level. They looked like country bumpkins who were entering the city for the first time. And this time, it was Qin Feiyang who took the initiative to change their appearances, so White-Eyed Wolf was a little puzzled. Didn't the Lu family blame him for making trouble? Why did he make trouble when they came to the Imperial City? Of course, I did this for a reason. Because this place is different from the Lu family, Qin Feiyang said. How is it different? White-Eyed Wolf, Lu Xiaofei, and Lu Jijin looked at him suspiciously. The Lu family lives in a remote corner and doesn't like to fight for fame and fortune, so there is nothing to observe. But this place is different. This place is full of luxuries and debauchery. It is also a place for power and interests. So I want to see if the Imperial City is still the same as before. I want to see what kind of character these princes and princesses have. Qin Feiyang whispered. Although his words were very calm, Lu Xiaofei and his sister felt a piercing coldness. I see. I hope you won't be disappointed. White-Eyed Wolf smiled. During the conversation, a group of people came to the city gate. There were 4 guards on both sides of the city gate. Everyone who entered the city would be strictly interrogated with the Heaven's Eye Stone. Uncle, if we change our appearances, how can we pass their interrogation? Lu Xiaofei said telepathically. Qin Feiyang said, You don't need to ask me about this kind of trivial matter. That's right. You can't even handle this kind of trivial matter. What qualifications do you have to follow us? White-eyed Wolf secretly said. This, Lu Xiaofei suddenly became distressed. Soon, it was Qin Feiyang and the others' turn. Several guards looked at Qin Feiyang and the other two's appearance and shook their heads sarcastically. Another few bumpkins who came to the imperial city for the first time. Bumpkins, Qin Feiyang murmured. These words were so familiar. Lu Xiaojia looked at Qin Feiyang and said unhappily, "Don't look down on people. Little girl, you have quite a temper. Do you know where this place is? This is the imperial city. If you want to enter the imperial city, you better behave yourself." The four of them sneered. You, Lu Xiaojia glared at the four of them. Since when had she been spoken to like this? In the past, when she entered the imperial palace, she would directly teleport there. It's not good to judge a book by its cover. Qin Feiyang shook his head and sighed. It seemed that even after the disaster back then, the nature of these people had not changed. One of them shouted, "Stop talking nonsense. Quickly grab the Heaven's Eye stone and accept the interrogation." Qin Feiyang looked at the four of them in silence. Lu Xiaofei was racking his brains. Suddenly, his eyes lit up. He walked in front of the four guards, quietly took out a few hundred gold coins, and said with a smile, "For big brothers, we are new here. Please take care of us." The four guards looked at the gold coins, and then looked at Qin Feiyang and the others. What an idiot. Isn't this the same as admitting that there's a problem with our identity? The white-eyed wolf was secretly annoyed. Don't worry. Qin Feiyang sent a sound transmission, still looking at the four guards. The four guards looked at them for a moment, then looked at Lu Xiaofei and whispered, "Are you sending away beggars? I'll go." Knowing that there's a problem with our identity, you actually didn't investigate us? The white-eyed wolf was stunned. Lu Xiaofei was also stunned for a moment, then nodded and smiled. Understood, understood. As he spoke, he took out a few hundred gold coins. One of the guards said angrily, "Brat, can't you be more straightforward?" This, Lu Xiaofei gritted his teeth, took out a few hundred gold coins and said, "For big brothers, this is all I have." The four of them looked at each other and looked at the people in the queue behind them. No one noticed these gold coins, so they quietly kept them. Then, the four of them looked at Qin Feiyang and the others, pretended to interrogate them, and then waved their hands. "Go in." "Thank you." For big brothers, Lu Xiaofei had a grateful look on his face as he followed Qin Feiyang into the city. "Little Qinzi, what do you think?" The white-eyed wolf looked at Qin Feiyang jokingly. Qin Feiyang glanced at the streets on both sides as he walked, silent. But the white-eyed wolf could clearly feel that Qin Feiyang was brewing anger in his heart. The four guards' duty was to interrogate everyone who entered the imperial city. It seemed very ordinary, but it was quite important, because they were the first barrier to guard the imperial city. But now, what the four of them did was neglect their duty. For their own greed, they completely forgot the safety of the imperial city. Letting such people guard the city gate, to put it bluntly, was digging their own graves. As for the city, it was quite peaceful. Soon, in the evening, Qin Feiyang led the white-eyed wolf, Lu Xiaofei, and his sister through one district after another, and finally entered the first district. The first district was where all the rich and powerful families and influential people lived. It was also the most prosperous place in the imperial city. For example, the headquarters of the Treasure Pavilion, the largest trading center of the Great Qin, was also here. And after passing through the first district was the inner city. The inner city was where the civil and military officials of the Great Qin and the marquises lived. In other words, the people who lived in the inner city were the pinnacle of the Great Qin. As for the inner city, it was where the imperial palace was located, the most supreme place in the Great Qin. Chapter 2760. At night, the first city district was bustling with activity. Looking at the surrounding streets, the restaurants were brightly lit. Many of the people entering and exiting the restaurants were from the rich and noble families. Especially some young people, their behavior was even bolder. They hugged some women with heavy makeup and swaggered through the streets, showing off how great they were. Of course, there were also some commoners. This was a place of extravagance, filled with temptation everywhere. Qin Feiyang walked on the streets and looked at everything around him. He asked, "Little Fei, where's the best restaurant in the Emperor City now?" Lu Xiaofei said, "The best restaurant in the Imperial City is the Fragrant Moon Restaurant." Fragrant Moon Restaurant? Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned and frowned. Why does it sound familiar? White-Eyed Wolf said telepathically, "Is it the Fragrant Moon Restaurant that we used to go to?" Used to go there? Qin Feiyang pondered for a while, and a magnificent restaurant gradually appeared in his mind. Lu Xiaofei said, "Speaking of this Fragrant Moon Restaurant, it is quite old?" "What do you mean?" Qin Feiyang was puzzled. This Fragrant Moon Restaurant has existed for hundreds of years, and it has always been the most high-end, most luxurious, and most extravagant restaurant in the Imperial City. Generally, those who enter and leave the Fragrant Moon Restaurant are the children of the rich and powerful. Lu Xiaofei said, "Fragrant Moon Restaurant," Qin Feiyang murmured. If the Fragrant Moon Restaurant mentioned by Lu Xiaofei was the same place as the one in his memory, then this Fragrant Moon Restaurant was indeed very old, because this Fragrant Moon Restaurant had already existed when he was young. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "Then let's go to the Fragrant Moon Restaurant." "What? Fragrant Moon Restaurant?" Lu Xiaofei was stunned. "Why? Can't I?" Qin Feiyang looked at him suspiciously. "Uncle, this Fragrant Moon Restaurant is a brothel. It's fine for us two men, but little sister..." Lu Xiaofei turned to look at Lu Xiaojia, looking a little hesitant. "Brothel?" Lu Xiaojia was stunned. Looking at Lu Xiaofei, she said, "Brother, don't tell me you have been to the Fragrant Moon Restaurant?" "No, no. How is this possible? Your elder brother is a gentleman." Lu Xiaofei said hurriedly. "Explaining is the same as covering up. Just you wait. I'll go back and tell mother and father." Lu Xiaojia snorted coldly. "My good sister, I've only been there once. Can you not tell them? If they find out about this, they'll skin me alive." Lu Xiaofei's expression changed. "Sure, you really have been there. I'll be lenient if you confess, but I'll be strict if you resist. Who did you go with?" Lu Xiaojia said furiously. Lu Xiaofei was stunned. He glared at Lu Xiaojia fiercely and said, "Little girl, you dare to trick me? How is it? You're the stupid one. Hurry up and confess. Otherwise, I will tell father and mother right now." Lu Xiaojia smiled proudly and took out the image crystal from her bosom. Lu Xiaofei's expression changed, and he said, "It's with Situ Feiyang? So it's this little fatso." Lu Xiaojia mumbled, Hey, how can you say that? Situ Feiyang is your brother." Lu Xiaofei was unhappy. "You guys are jackals of the same tribe." Lu Xiaojia snorted coldly. "Situ Feiyang?" Qin Feiyang and the White-Eyed Wolf looked at each other and asked suspiciously, "Who is this Situ Feiyang that you guys are talking about?" Lu Xiaofei said, "Situ Feiyang is the son of Uncle Situ and Aunt Li Yin." "Uncle Situ?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. Lu Xiaofei said, "Uncle Situ is Situ Tianyu." "Situ Tianyu?" Qin Feiyang and the White-Eyed Wolf were stunned. Wasn't this Fatso's name? Aunt Li Yin, that's right. This was the damn Fatso. They didn't expect that the damn Fatso and Li Yin already had a child. They even named the child Situ Feiyang. The only difference between him and Qin Feiyang was their surname. But then again, these guys were really fast. Lu Hong and Lu Zheng had a son and a daughter. Fatso and Li Yin also had a son. He just didn't know how Ling Yunfei and Zhao Shuanger were doing now. Thinking back, these three pairs of enemies had gotten married at the same time. "Then your Uncle Situ." Qin Feiyang was about to ask about Fatso's whereabouts when he suddenly frowned and said, "Wait, that's not right. Why do you guys also call him uncle?" "We have another uncle," Lu Xiaofei said. "Who?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. Lu Xiaofei said, "Ling Yunfei? What the hell?" Qin Feiyang and the White-Eyed Wolf looked at each other. How did they all become uncles? "You have to ask mother and father about this because mother told us to call him that," Lu Xiaofei said. "I see." Qin Feiyang suddenly understood. It seemed that the situation was similar to his. Qin Feiyang said, "Then where are Ling Yunfei and Fatso now?" Uncle Situ and Aunt Li Yin are in the forgotten continent. They are all busy people now, especially Aunt Li Yin, who is in charge of the trading pavilion of the forgotten continent. She is a real strong woman. As for Uncle Situ, his status is not so good. Lu Xiaofei said with a smile. What do you mean? The white-eyed wolf's eyes lit up and asked curiously. Lu Xiaofei said, Uncle, do you still remember that when they got married, you gave Aunt Li Yin a divine artifact? Divine artifact? Qin Feiyong was slightly stunned. After thinking for a moment, he nodded and said, I remember. It seems to be the Wind Moon Pavilion. This Wind Moon Pavilion was a divine artifact. It was the divine artifact of the demon ancestor's subordinate, Sima Kuan. At that time, when Fatso and Li Yin got married, Qin Feiyong gave this divine artifact to Li Yin as a congratulatory gift. It is this Wind Moon Pavilion. Aunt Li Yin is quite valiant. If there is a disagreement, she will use the Wind Moon Pavilion to beat up Uncle Situ. Every time she sees Uncle Situ, she will have a wronged look on her face and complain about you. Why did you give this Wind Moon Pavilion to Aunt Li Yin? Lu Xiaofei chuckled. So it's like this. Qin Feiyong suddenly smiled. Back then, when Fatso and Li Yin, Ling Yunfei and Zhao Shuang Lu Zheng and Lu Hong got married, he did not only give Fatso and Li Yin congratulatory gifts. Ling Yunfei and Zhao Shuang Lu Zheng and Lu Hong also had gifts. Ling Yunfei and Zhao Shuang's divine artifact was the Qilin armor. Lu Zheng and Lu Hong's divine artifact was the dragon vein sword. And at that time, he also gave all of them to Li Yin, Lu Hong, and Zhao Shuang Lu Zheng's current situation was needless to say. He was a real henpecked husband. Now Fatso was the same, but he did not know if Ling Yunfei was the same. The white-eyed wolf asked, What about Ling Yunfei and Zhao Shuang Lu Xiaofei said, They are relatively free in Iron Ox Town. Qin Feiyong nodded and said, It seems that they will enjoy life. Tch, I think this Ling Yunfei must be a henpecked husband, the white-eyed wolf said. How do you know? Qin Feiyong was speechless. Isn't it simple? You see, Ling Yunfei's clanland is in Black Bear City, right? Zhao Shuang's clanland is in Iron Ox Town, right? As the saying goes, if you marry a chicken, follow the chicken. If you marry a dog, follow the dog. Logically speaking, shouldn't Zhao Shuang live in Black Bear City with Ling Yunfei? But now, Ling Yunfei followed Zhao Shuang to Iron Ox Town. You can imagine, what position does he have in front of Zhao Shuang The white-eyed wolf said. It seems quite reasonable. After being analyzed by the white-eyed wolf, Qin Feiyong nodded and muttered, Uncle Wolf, what you said is true. In short, my father, Uncle Situ, and Uncle Ling are all henpecked men. Every time I see them, I feel that they are embarrassing us men. Lu Xiaofei shook his head. Embarrassing? Qin Feiyong rolled his eyes at Lu Xiaofei. What a mischievous child. Lu Xiaofei laughed dryly, looked at Qin Feiyong and said, Uncle, are you also afraid of Aunt? What? Qin Feiyong was stunned. Although you're not married yet, Mother has already told me about you and my aunt. Since my father, Uncle Situ, and Uncle Ling are henpecked, then are you also afraid of her? Hee. After all, there is a saying that goes like this. Birds of a feather flock together. Lu Xiaofei laughed evilly. Are you looking for a beating? How can I be afraid of your aunt? Qin Feiyong's face darkened. Although you say you are not afraid, you must be very afraid in your heart. Lu Xiaofei laughed evilly. Kid, I find that you are really naughty. Qin Feiyong was helpless. At this time, Lu Xiaojiao pointed to the front and said, Uncle, we have arrived at the Fragrant Moon restaurant. Is that so? Qin Feiyong raised his head to look and saw a magnificent restaurant in front of him. This restaurant had a total of 50 floors, gorgeous and magnificent. It is indeed the Fragrant Moon restaurant, Qin Feiyong whispered. After hundreds of years, it still hadn't disappeared. There were 2 waiters at the door, welcoming the guests warmly. Suddenly, the 2 of them found that Qin Feiyong and the others were standing motionless at the entrance. One of the waiters immediately stepped forward and shouted, What are you looking at? Is this a place where you can afford to spend? Don't block the way here, scram. Because they deliberately dressed up, Qin Feiyong and the others looked particularly inconspicuous. And Lu Xiaofei was a young man after all. When he heard the waiter's words, he immediately said angrily, "Don't look down on us." As for Qin Feiyong, looking at the fragrant moon restaurant, memories kept appearing in his mind. He still remembered that this was the place where he officially met the first prince. He still remembered that this was the place where he met Qin Shi and Qin Yu. Qin Shi and Qin Yu were once his maids, but because of his relationship with them, they were implicated and were sent here by the first prince to be singers. Later, although he saved the two women couldn't let go of the humiliation they suffered in the fragrant moon restaurant and committed suicide. These painful memories. Qin Feiyong really didn't want to think about them again. But memories, they couldn't be controlled. "Yo, you still dare to be arrogant?" Looking at Lu Xiaofei's attitude, the waiter suddenly raised his brows. "Isn't it just money? I have a lot." Lu Xiaofei took out a large amount of gold coins and threw it at the waiter, saying indifferently, "Take this as a tip for you." And the waiter was slightly taken aback. He glanced at the closed doors on the ground. There were at least a few hundred of them. So arrogant, so generous. Could it be that he was a disciple of a big family? Chapter 2761. The waiter couldn't help but size Lu Xiaofei up again. No matter how he looked at it, he didn't have the temperament of a wealthy family. Immediately, the waiter couldn't help but sneer secretly. It seemed that he was just a nouveau riche. "Thank you for your reward, young master." On the surface, the waiter smiled and bent down to pick up the gold coins. So many gold coins, it would be a waste not to take them. Then, the waiter retreated to the side and said with a smile, "Please come in. Uncle, let's go." Seeing that Qin Feiyong was still thinking about something, Lu Xiaofei gently tugged at the corner of Qin Feiyong's clothes. Qin Feiyong came back to his senses and nodded. "Okay. Wait." But suddenly, the waiter reached out to stop them, looked at the white-eyed wolf, and shook his head. "I'm sorry, Fragrant Moon Inn has rules. Livestock are not allowed to enter." Livestock? The white-eyed wolf was stunned. Was he talking about it? Impudent. Lu Xiaofei was also stunned. Then, he shouted, "Do you know where it came from? It's just a dog. Who cares about its origin? As long as it's an animal, it's not allowed to enter the Fragrant Moon Inn." The waiter shook his head. Livestock? Things? Not to mention Lu Xiaofei, even Lu Xiaojia was very angry. This was their Uncle Wolf. It was actually so humiliating. The white-eyed wolf's eyes turned cold as he stared at the waiter and said, "Say that again." "And? A dog can speak human language? It seems that it has some cultivation. However, livestock are still livestock. You still can't go in." The waiter sneered. "You're courting death." The white-eyed wolf's eyes were filled with coldness. Lu Xiaofei and Lu Xiaojia clenched their hands together. Back then, suddenly, a calm voice sounded. "En?" The waiter, the white-eyed wolf, Lu Xiaofei, and Lu Xiaojia all turned to look at Qin Feiyong. At this moment, there were also many people surrounding them, watching the show. Back then, I had always blamed Big Brother for the death of Qin Shi and Qin Yu, but I forgot about the accomplice of Fragrant Moon Inn. Qin Feiyong shook his head and sighed. The Big Brother he was referring to was naturally the first prince. Accomplice? What do you mean? Everyone was suspicious. Lu Xiaojia also asked suspiciously, "Uncle Wolf, what's wrong with Uncle?" White-eyed Wolf thought to himself. He must have recalled some painful memories. The Fragrant Moon brothel used to be the property of the first prince. After the first prince died, no one paid much attention to the Fragrant Moon brothel. And because of this, it continued until the end. To tell the truth, the Fragrant Moon brothel should thank Qin Feiyong. Otherwise, the Fragrant Moon brothel would have already become history. And now, a waiter actually dared to humiliate the white-eyed wolf? Wasn't he courting death? Let's wipe them out. Qin Feiyong sized up the Fragrant Moon Inn and said calmly, "I was waiting for you to say that." The white-eyed wolf chuckled and swung its claws back. With a loud bang, the entire Fragrant Moon Inn collapsed. What? The two waiters' expressions changed. The surrounding crowd was also horrified. Who is this? How dare he cause trouble in the first district? Bastard! How dare he disturb me from drinking? Who the hell is so bold? Do you want to die? Accompanied by angry shouts, a group of people ran out of the ruins with dusty faces. These people were all dressed in gorgeous clothes. Obviously, they were not ordinary people. It's them. The surrounding crowd pointed at Qin Feiyong and the others. Qin Feiyong glanced at those dusty people indifferently. Then, he turned and left with the white-eyed wolf and Lu Xiaofei. Stop! One of the purple-clad young men shouted. Qin Feiyong said without looking back, no matter who you are, you'd better not provoke me. The purple-clad young man was stunned. He was so angry that he laughed. He shook off the dust on his body and stepped in front of Qin Feiyong and the others. Don't you understand human language? The white-eyed wolf clawed back. The purple-clad young man was immediately sent flying and hit the ground, spitting blood from his mouth. Damn it! Is this big black dog going to defy the heavens? Why didn't he inquire about the other party's identity before making a move? The surrounding crowd was stunned. Identity? The white-eyed wolf sneered and said proudly, not to mention these playboys, even if it's the princes and princesses in the palace, I dare to beat them? Crazy. How arrogant. The crowd was shocked. He even dared to beat the princes and princesses in the palace. Was he going to ascend to heaven? Lu Xiaofei stepped forward, glanced at the purple-clad young man, and said through voice transmission, Uncle Wolf, this person's identity is really not simple. The white-eyed wolf was suspicious. Lu Xiaofei said with a smile, he is the youngest son of Marquis Yang Xiaochuan. This was not said through voice transmission. The white-eyed wolf suddenly said, it turns out that he is the son of a marquis. How dare you hit me? You're finished, completely finished. Even if the heavenly emperor comes down, he won't be able to save you. Yang Xiaochuan crawled up and stared at Qin Feiyong and the others with hatred. You still dare to be arrogant? The white-eyed wolf raised his eyebrows and went forward to slap him. Yang Xiaochuan flew out once again, and an eye-catching dog paw print appeared on his face. So arrogant. The surrounding people were dumbstruck. They already knew the other party's identity, but they still dared to make a move. This was completely not putting the martial marquis government in their eyes. This Yang Xiaochuan is not only the son of a marquis, I also heard that he is very familiar with the 16th prince. What do you mean very familiar? That means they grew up together. The crowd whispered. 16th prince? Qin Feiyong was stunned. Uncle, this 16th prince is called Qinli and is also your younger brother. According to seniority, I should also call him uncle, but I don't like him, Lu Xiaofei secretly said. Why? Qin Feiyong was puzzled. He's a bit sinister. And I heard from Uncle Haoyan that he's even forming a faction in the palace to fight for the throne, Lu Xiaofei transmitted. Uncle Haoyan? Qin Feiyong was startled. Lu Xiaofei said, actually, Uncle Haoyan is pretty good. When we were young, he took care of me in Shaojia. Is that so? Qin Feiyong was surprised. Yes. Although he's usually quiet, and every time he mentions you, he hates you to the bone. But to us, his relatives, there's really nothing to say. And Uncle Haoyan himself said that he's not interested in the throne. His only goal is to surpass you and defeat you, Lu Xiaofei secretly said. In that case, I didn't make a mistake back then. This throne, he really needs to be the one to inherit it. Qin Feiyong laughed. I'm afraid it'll be difficult. Lu Xiaofei shook his head. With your uncle here, there's nothing difficult. Qin Feiyong secretly laughed. That's true. Lu Xiaofei nodded. His uncle was omnipotent. How dare you? Suddenly, a cold snort sounded out. Shua. In the next moment, a young man wearing a golden python robe descended from the sky. Behind him, there were 6 black armored guards. Lu Xiaofei raised his head and sent a sound transmission. Uncle, he is Qinli. Qin Feiyong raised his head to size up Qinli. His appearance was outstanding, his temperament was extraordinary, and his cultivation was not bad either. 9-star war sect. However, there was a trace of gloominess between his brows. Qin Feiyong then looked at the 6 black armored guards. Looking at the armor on the 6 of them, Qin Feiyong felt nostalgic. Because these 6 people were the Black Iron Army of the Imperial Palace. Their cultivation was all at the level of a 1-star war saint. Compared to the previous Black Iron Army, the quality had also improved by a lot. This was because the previous Black Iron Army were basically all War Emperor and War Master cultivators. Your Highness, it was them who destroyed the Fragrant Moon restaurant. A group of waiters from the restaurant ran to Qin Feiyong and the others and said angrily, From the looks of it, the Fragrant Moon restaurant is now Qin Li's property." Qin Feiyong was startled. "It's Qin Li's property." Lu Xiaofei sent a sound transmission. Qin Feiyong said, "Then it's not without reason that this Fragrant Moon restaurant has been able to exist until now." "Your Highness, you're here." Yang Xiaochuan was also ecstatic. He hurriedly flew to Qin Li and said, "Your Highness, look, what did they do to me? You have to uphold justice for me." "Don't worry." Qin Li waved his hand and lowered his head to size up Qin Feiyong and the others. Their clothes were ordinary, their appearance was ordinary, and their temperament was also ordinary. It was obvious that they were just commoners. A mere commoner actually dared to destroy his property? Not to mention commoners, even the children of nobles would have to lie down in front of him. Qin Li asked, "Do you know who I am?" "Yes. Great Qin's 16th prince." Qin Feiyong nodded. Qin Li said, "Since you know, then you should also know what to do next." Qin Feiyong smiled faintly. "Then you'll have to teach me?" "Impudent! You dare to be so arrogant in front of His Highness?" Yang Xiaochuan shouted. Qin Feiyong glanced at Yang Xiaochuan indifferently and then looked at Qin Li. Qin Li clenched his hands. This kind of neither servile nor overbearing gaze was really disgusting. He said, "Dig out your own eyes and I'll let you go." Qin Feiyong was stunned. "Digging out our own eyes? So vicious?" Lu Xiaojia said discontentedly, "Why should we dig out our own eyes?" "Because you have eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai. You even dared to destroy this prince's property. What's the point of keeping your dog eyes?" Qin Li shouted. "Great Qin's prince is indeed awe-inspiring." Qin Feiyong smiled. "It's all right. Anyway, it's not something that lowly commoners like you can compare to," Qin Li said proudly. "Lowly commoners." Qin Feiyong muttered. "You don't want to do it yourself?" Qin Li raised his eyebrows and said, "All right, I'll do it." Then, Qin Li turned to look at the 6 invincible Black Army soldiers and said, "Go, dig out their eyes for me." "Yes." The 6 of them respectfully responded and stepped in front of Qin Feiyong and the others. Their eyes were filled with cold light. Sigh. Qin Feiyong shook his head and sighed. He waved his hand and swept up the white-eyed wolf and Lu Xiaojia before disappearing without a trace. Where did they go? How did they disappear? The 6 invincible Black Army soldiers were shocked. They quickly scanned the crowd and found nothing. It can't be. They disappeared in the blink of an eye. This speed is too fast. The surrounding crowd was also horrified. "Your Highness, this..." Yang Xiaochuan was also stunned. He then turned to look at Qin Li. "Find them. Issue an arrest warrant. Even if you have to flip the entire imperial city upside down, you have to find them." Qin Li shouted. "All right." Yang Xiaochuan nodded. Chapter 2762. The Inner City. On a secluded street, Lu Xiaofei looked at Qin Feiyong suspiciously and said, "Uncle, why don't you teach him a lesson?" "It's not time yet." Qin Feiyong shook his head. Lu Xiaofei asked, "Then when is?" "Tomorrow morning." Before Lu Xiaofei finished, Qin Feiyong spoke. "Tomorrow morning?" Lu Xiaofei and Lu Xiaojia looked at each other. This uncle's thoughts were really unpredictable. "Xiaofei, are you familiar with the Imperial Palace?" Qin Feiyong suddenly stopped and asked. "Of course. Not only am I familiar with the Imperial Palace, but I'm also familiar with the people in the Imperial Palace." Lu Xiaofei nodded. Qin Feiyong said, "Then tell me, what kind of conduct do these younger brothers and sisters of mine have?" Lu Xiaofei was a little hesitant. "Just say it." Qin Feiyong smiled. "Well, I'll be frank. Except for those princesses, all the princes are fighting openly and secretly. And all of this is nothing more than the throne and full strength. Lu Xiaofei said. Qin Feiyang frowned and said, Father and mother don't care about this kind of thing? Yes, of course. But these people are one thing on the surface and another behind the scenes. Grandfather and grandmother can't do anything. Besides, these princes are like you. They're biological children. They can't bear to be strict with them. So, as long as they don't go too far, grandfather and grandmother will turn a blind eye. Lu Xiaofei said. How can this be? This situation is no different from when we were in the Great Qin, White-Eyed Wolf said. Yes, to put it bluntly, they have been pampered and have not experienced any hardships, so they have developed such selfish behavior. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Then how do you plan to solve it? White-Eyed Wolf asked. Just as Little Fei said, they are my blood brothers and sisters after all. I can't just kill them. Qin Feiyang sighed. Compared to the first prince and the others, it is indeed a little difficult to deal with. The White-Eyed Wolf nodded. Qin Feiyang then looked at Lu Xiaofei and asked, What about the various martial marquis? Qin Feiyang said, The various martial marquises also have their own camps. These people are still not being honest. Qin Feiyang shook his head. That's because you left. If you stayed in the imperial palace, would they dare to act rashly? White-Eyed Wolf's face was full of disdain. That's true. These martial marquis, every time they hear your name, uncle, it's like a mouse seeing a cat. Lu Xiaofei smiled. Qin Feiyang glanced at Lu Xiaofei, pondered for a moment, and said with a faint smile, All right, I already know how to deal with it. The next day, early morning, the civil and military officials gathered in the throne room for the daily morning assembly. Swish! A middle-aged man wearing a dragon robe and a dragon crown descended in front of the dragon throne. That's right. This person was the current emperor, Qin Feiyang's father. Greetings, Your Majesty. The civil and military officials immediately lined up and respectfully knelt on the ground. The emperor sat on the dragon throne and said lightly, Rise. Everyone stood up. The chief eunuch next to him shouted, If there's something to report, leave the assembly. Your Majesty, I have something to report. A middle-aged man immediately walked out. Yang Wuho, what's the matter? The emperor said, Your Majesty, last night in the first district, a few criminals openly attacked and injured my son. And they threatened that they would even dare to beat up the princess and the prince. Yang Wuho said angrily. What? They even dare to beat up the princess and the prince? Who is so bold? As soon as Yang Wuho said this, the civil and military officials suddenly became restless. Is there really such a thing? The emperor frowned. Yes. At that time, the 16th prince was also there. Yang Wuho said. The emperor looked at the chief eunuch next to him and said, Call the 16th prince over. Yes. The chief eunuch responded respectfully. Then, he disappeared in a flash. Soon, the chief eunuch took Qin Li back to the throne room. Qin Li knelt on the ground and said respectfully, This son greets father. Get up and talk. The emperor waved his hand. Thank you, father. Qin Li bowed and gave his thanks before standing up. The emperor said, I heard from Yang Wuho that someone beat his son last night? Yes. Those people are extremely arrogant and even threatened to beat us princes and princesses. This son has issued a warrant. I believe it won't be long before they are caught. Qin Li said, Warrant? The emperor was slightly stunned and frowned. Why didn't you ask me first for such a big thing like a warrant? Father, please calm down. This son was also afraid that they would run away, so I made the decision on my own. This son was also planning to report this matter to father after the morning assembly. Qin Li hurriedly said. The emperor said, Only I am qualified to issue a warrant for arrest in the Great Qin. Next time, don't act on your own. This son obeys the decree. Qin Li nodded and secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Since the warrant has been issued, then let's wait for the news. Is there anything else? If there's nothing else, then you can leave. The emperor said indifferently. I still have something to do. As soon as the emperor finished speaking, a calm voice suddenly sounded outside the hall. Everyone was stunned and hurriedly turned their heads to look. This voice was very unfamiliar, but there was a trace of surprise in Qin Li's eyes, because this voice was very familiar to him. It was the person who shouted at him. But why would this person appear outside the throne room? One had to know. This throne room was the holy land of the imperial palace. Other than the civil and military officials, even princes like them had to obtain the emperor's permission in advance before they could enter. At the same time, outside the hall, there were 8 guards. These 8 people all had the cultivation of the war emperor. They wore a set of flame armor and looked majestic. On their armor, there was a Qilin pattern. They were the Kirin army, which was of a higher level than the invincible Black Army. The 8 members of the Qilin army were surprised when they heard the unfamiliar voice. Whoosh! In the next moment, 3 people and a dog appeared in front of the throne room. Who are you? How dare you trespass into the throne room? The 8 people immediately took out their weapons and pointed at the 3 people and the dog. The 3 people and the dog were naturally Qin Feiyang, the white-eyed wolf, and Lu Xiaofei. Qin Feiyang glanced at the 8 people indifferently and stepped into the throne room with the white-eyed wolf and Lu Xiaofei. So fast, the 8 people were shocked and quickly chased into the throne room. They shouted, "Those who trespass into the throne room, die. Make them pout." Qin Feiyang glanced at the white-eyed wolf. The white-eyed wolf grinned and waved its paw. The 8 people immediately flew out of the throne room and rolled on the ground. They were in a sorry state. So strong. Seeing this scene, not only the civil and military officials, but also the emperor was shocked. "Father, it's them." Qin Li immediately ran to the emperor and said, "Yes, your majesty, it's them who injured my son." Yang Wuho also angrily pointed at Qin Feiyang and the others. Qin Feiyang glanced at the emperor, then turned to Yang Wuho and asked, "You're Yang Xiaochuan's father?" "That's right." Yang Wuho nodded. "I was just about to look for you, but you jumped out yourself." Qin Feiyang said indifferently and looked at the white-eyed wolf. "Give him a slap." Slap. The white-eyed wolf took a step forward and slapped Yang Wuho's face with its paw. Yang Wuho wanted to dodge, but found that he couldn't. The opponent's speed was so fast that he couldn't catch it. Bang! Immediately, Yang Wuho also fell to the ground. His teeth also fell to the ground and blood flowed out. "Impudent! How dare you beat up the martial marquis in the throne room? Men, take him down." The head eunuch shouted. The 8 Kirin army ran in again, but they surrounded Qin Feiyang and the others and didn't dare to make a move. Qin Feiyang raised his head and looked at the head eunuch. After so many years, the head eunuch still hasn't changed. "Who are you? Why did you speak so arrogantly last night? And why did you force your way into the throne room today?" The emperor looked down at Qin Feiyang, and an emperor's aura gradually filled the air. Qin Feiyang looked at the emperor with a smile in his eyes and was about to speak. Qin Li took the lead and said, "Father, why are you talking nonsense with such a crazy person? Just behead him." "Behead me?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. "Yes. Offending the bloodline of the Qin family is a capital offense." Qin Li nodded and stared coldly at Qin Feiyang. "Offending is a capital offense?" Qin Feiyang was stunned and frowned. "How come I didn't know there was such a rule?" Qin Li said disdainfully, "Who do you think you are to know?" "Who do I think I am?" Qin Feiyang muttered. He suddenly raised his arm and made a grabbing motion in the air. Qin Li immediately cried out in surprise and flew uncontrollably towards Qin Feiyang. "You dare to attack His Highness?" The civil and military officials were shocked. The eyes of the emperor, who was sitting at the top, were also filled with anger. "I advise you all to sit down obediently. Otherwise, if things get out of hand, there will be no way to clean up the mess." White-eyed Wolf said lightly. At the same time, Qin Li flew in front of Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang grabbed his neck and said, "The Qin clan has a descendant like you. It's really sad." His eyes flashed with a strong murderous intent. Seeing this, Lu Xiaofei hurriedly transmitted his voice, "Uncle, you have to calm down." Qin Feiyang glanced at him and looked at Qin Li again. At this moment, Qin Li's face was full of fear. Not to mention other things, Qin Feiyang's murderous eyes made him feel despair. Humph! Suddenly, Qin Feiyang coldly snorted and casually threw Qin Li away. Qin Li immediately flew out and hit a stone pillar next to him. He immediately felt dizzy and blood gushed out. It seems that you really don't have the heart to do it. White-eyed wolf shook his head. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled bitterly. He glanced at the civil and military officials who were silent like cicadas in winter and walked towards the emperor step by step. What do you want to do? Quickly protect the emperor. Protect the emperor. The chief eunuch stood in front of the emperor and shouted at the 8 Kirin army. Seeing this, the 8 Kirin army braced themselves and charged towards Qin Feiyang. However, they were sent flying by the white-eyed wolf's claw. Swish! Suddenly, a figure descended in front of the emperor. It was a middle-aged man who exuded an extremely powerful aura. Qin Feiyang was stunned. This face, this figure, wasn't it Li Jian? Back then, Li Jian and Zhou Zheng followed Qin Feiyang together. But later, Zhou Zheng was killed. And during the battle with the demon ancestor, Li Jian also made a great contribution. Back then, when Qin Feiyang went to the ancient world, Li Jian chose to stay in the Great Qin. But he didn't expect this guy to stay in the imperial palace. And now, his cultivation is also at the early stage of War God. Chapter 2763. Qin Feiyang still had a deep impression of Li Jian, because the first person to comprehend the mysteries of becoming a god was Li Jian. Now that Li Jian stayed in the imperial palace, he was undoubtedly the guardian of the Great Qin Empire. However, Qin Feiyang felt a little regretful about Zhou Zheng's death. It was not because Zhou Zheng was powerful, but because Zhou Zheng and Li Jian were good friends. The reason why Li Jian worked so hard was to avenge Zhou Zheng. Uncle Jian, kill him? Whether it was the civil and military officials or the chief eunuch, they were all relieved when they saw Li Jian. Qin Li even immediately roared. The Qin clan is not something you can offend. Li Jian stepped forward and stared at Qin Feiyang with murderous intent in his eyes. Then why are you protecting the Qin clan? Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Because of one person, Li Jian said. All right. Qin Feiyang nodded. Needless to say, the person Li Jian was talking about was him. In other words, it was because of him that Li Jian stayed in the Qin clan to protect the Qin clan. Boom. In the next moment, Li Jian slammed his palm toward Qin Feiyang, but he did not use his divine power, because once he did, it would affect everyone in the imperial palace. Although your cultivation has improved a lot over the past few hundred years, you are still no match for me. Qin Feiyang shook his head, raised his arm, and pointed his index finger at Li Jian's palm. Immediately, Li Jian's arm stopped in midair, unable to move an inch. What? Li Jian's expression changed. He blocked his palm with a single finger. Furthermore, it had completely nullified the power of his palm strike. What kind of power was this? What kind of technique was this? The emperor and the others were also dumbfounded. As one of the guardians of the Great Qin Empire, he could not even do anything to a single finger? How big was the gap between their strength? Don't be presumptuous. Suddenly, along with a shout, another 4 figures rushed into the throne room. Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf looked over, and a smile flashed in their eyes. They were all old acquaintances. Actually, it was an old man. It was Elder Qin, whom he hadn't seen in a long time. This old man was the true protector of Great Qin, because he had always taken it upon himself to protect Great Qin, and whether it was in the past or now, that had never changed. Once, he went to the spiritual state alone and fought against the Mermaid clan. The other 3 people were the Qin Shang trio, who had been living in seclusion in the back mountain. After a few hundred years, the 3 of them seemed to have been reborn, looking hale and hearty. All of this came from their cultivation bases. In the past, when they were nearing the end of their lifespans, they had always been in a state of self-sealing, which was why they looked old and senile. But now, they had all broken through to the initial stage of the War God realm, and their lifespans had been extended. Whether it was his body or his mind, he had become completely different from before. Great Qin's 5 guardian gods have all arrived. Brat, prepare to die. Yang Wuho stared at Qin Feiyang and roared. 5 guardian gods, quite awe-inspiring. The white-eyed wolf chuckled. At the same time, Li Jian, Elder Qin, and Qin Shang looked at each other and charged towards Qin Feiyang at the same time. Uncle Wolf. The Lu siblings were a little nervous. Of course, they knew the strength of Li Jin and the other four. They were all the top experts of Great Qin. It seems that you still don't understand the difference between the ninth heaven realm and the war god realm. Not to mention the 5 of them. Even if there were 10,000 of them, they would only be killed in an instant. The white-eyed wolf transmitted his voice. Even 10,000 of them can be killed in an instant? The siblings were shocked. Was the difference between the ninth heaven realm and the war god realm really so big? In the blink of an eye, Li Jin and the other 4 had already arrived in front of Qin Feiyang. The surrounding civil and military officials all thought that Qin Feiyang would dodge or even escape. Especially Qin Li, whose face was full of a cold smile. But Qin Feiyang had no intention of dodging at all. He slowly raised his arm and pointed his finger. Li Jin, defeated. Another finger lightly tapped forward, and Old Man Qin was defeated. Qin Shang, defeated. The other 2 were also defeated one after another. In front of Qin Feiyang, the 5 of them had no power to fight back at all. One must know, Qin Feiyang didn't even use 1/10,000th of his strength. Strong. The Lu siblings' hearts trembled. This was their uncle's strength. It was too powerful, simply invincible. Looking at the civil and military officials, the chief eunuch, Qin Li, everyone's eyes were wide open, full of disbelief. The 5 guardians were defeated so easily? The emperor's heart also sank. When did such a terrifying expert appear in the Great Qin? Needless to say, Li Jin and the other 4. Having personally experienced Qin Feiyang's strength, they knew how terrifying Qin Feiyang's strength was. It was no exaggeration to say that if Qin Feiyang wanted to kill them, it would be as simple as crushing an ant. Greetings, senior. The 5 of them looked at each other and bowed together. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. He also bowed and said, I can't accept this. Instead, I should thank you. Huh. The 5 of them were shocked. What did he mean? Thank you for protecting the Great Qin for me. Qin Feiyang bowed. What? The 5 of them looked at Qin Feiyang in surprise. The emperor, the chief eunuch, the civil and military officials, and Qin Li also looked at Qin Feiyang in confusion. Protect the Great Qin for him? This person must be stupid. Qin Feiyang took a deep breath, looked up at the emperor, and knelt on the ground with a plop. He said, Unfilial son Qin Feiyang greets father. What? Unfilial son Qin Feiyang? Then, isn't he? The eyes of the people in the hall suddenly trembled. In their minds, a figure appeared at the same time. Although hundreds of years had passed, the civil and military officials had not changed. After all, they were all cultivators. Although their cultivation was weaker, it was not a problem for them to live for thousands of years. Therefore, the people in the hall, except for Qin Li and Lu Xiaofei, had all witnessed the rise of Qin Feiyang with their own eyes. Naturally, they knew more about Qin Feiyang's means than Qin Li and Lu Xiaofei. Feiyang. The emperor's eyes also trembled slightly as he looked at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang took out a facial restoration pill and put it in his mouth. Soon, his true appearance was restored. Feiyang. The emperor's body suddenly stiffened. Li Jin and the other 5 also looked at Qin Feiyang's face in a daze. This face, subordinate Li Jin greets young lord. The next moment, Li Jin knelt on one knee, lowered his head, and said respectfully, Dada. Although her tone was sonorous and forceful, there were still drops of tears dripping onto the ground. Welcome back, your highness. Old Qin and the other 2 came back to their senses and knelt on one knee, crying tears of joy. Young lord, your highness. The civil and military officials looked at Li Jin, Old Qin, and the other 3 in shock. Qin Li did not know, but they knew that the young lord that Li Jin mentioned was only one person. Qin Feiyang. There was only one person who could make Old Qin and the other 3 kneel on one knee and respectfully call him your highness. Qin Feiyang. Is it really him? The civil and military officials looked at Qin Feiyang's back and wanted to go forward to confirm, but no one dared to take a step forward. Qin Feiyang. At this moment, Qin Li was also in a state of confusion. He did not expect that this person was actually his biological brother. He could not help but panic in his heart. Although he was very unfamiliar with this big brother of his, He had heard rumors about this big brother of his since he was a child. The emperor also finally came back to his senses and hurriedly walked to Qin Feiyang, squatted on the ground, and looked at Qin Feiyang's face. It really was this child. He's back at this moment. The emperor could not help but roar in his heart, and tears welled up in his eyes. He quickly reached out and pulled Qin Feiyang, saying, "Child, get up, let me take a good look at you." "Father." Qin Feiyang slowly got up and looked at his father's face. "It really is my son. Except for his cultivation, he's still the same as before. There's no change at all." The emperor looked at Qin Feiyang for a moment and hugged him tightly. "It really is him." Yang Wuho looked at this scene and collapsed on the ground, his face full of horror. This unfilial son, of all people, had to provoke this man? Was this man someone small characters like them could afford to offend? Although Marquis Wu had supreme status and authority in the great Qin Empire, in front of Qin Feiyang, all of this was nothing. Wuho, in front of this man, as long as he said a word, he would be instantly destroyed. Cough, cough. The head eunuch looked at Qin Feiyang, walked to the front of the emperor, and said in a low voice, "Your Majesty, Wuho and the ministers are still here." "Ah." The emperor was slightly stunned. Looking at the civil and military officials below, he was so excited that he forgot about these people. "What are you all still doing here?" The emperor let go of Qin Feiyang and looked at the group of people with a frown. How insensible. Didn't you see the father and son reunion? Still standing there, ruining the atmosphere. Yes, yes, yes. We will take our leave." The civil and military officials also reacted, hurriedly bowed, and then turned to leave. "Wait." Qin Feiyang suddenly spoke. The civil and military officials' bodies stiffened, and they turned to face Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang also turned to look at the group of people. "It's him. It's him." At that moment, everyone lowered their heads, silent like cicadas in winter. When Qin Li saw Qin Feiyang's face, his body trembled violently. He hurriedly stepped forward and said, "Qin Li greets. Stop." Qin Feiyang waved his hand. Seeing this, Qin Li looked even more flustered. Qin Feiyang said, "I am not qualified to be your brother. I'm sorry." Qin Li hurriedly lowered his head, his face pale. The emperor looked at Qin Li, looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "Feiyang, this should be just a misunderstanding. Father, yesterday morning, I had already returned to the imperial city. But do you know why I did not return to the imperial palace immediately?" Qin Feiyang said. "Why?" The emperor was suspicious. Qin Feiyang was about to speak, but seeing Li Jian and the others still kneeling on the ground, he smiled and said, "Get up quickly." "Yes." The 5 of them responded, got up, and looked at Qin Feiyang, their faces full of smiles. "I have to deal with some things first. We can catch up later." Qin Feiyang said with a smile, "Go ahead." Old Qin smiled slightly. Qin Feiyang looked at the emperor and said, "I did not return to the imperial palace immediately. I just wanted to see how the great Qin Empire has changed after hundreds of years. Is it as good as I imagined?" The emperor nodded in realization and asked, "What's the result?" Chapter 2764. In the end, Qin Feiyang murmured. He looked down at the officials and shouted, "In the end, I am very disappointed." The officials, who had always been high and mighty, did not even dare to breathe loudly at this moment. Qin Feiyang said, "I believe that everyone here knows about the calamity that happened a few hundred years ago." Everyone was silent. Qin Feiyang said, "If your memory is too bad, I can help you recall." "No need, no need. We all remember. We all remember." Everyone hurriedly spoke. "The great Qin Empire was protected by my friends and brothers with our lives. Otherwise, would you still have the chance to live like a prince?" Qin Feiyang shouted. "Yes. Your Highness' contribution to the great Qin Empire will always be remembered in our hearts. We have always been grateful to Your Highness and to everyone in that battle." One of the marquises said, "Do I look like an idiot to you?" Qin Feiyang looked at that marquis. "Your Highness, please forgive us." That marquis quickly knelt on the ground. "If you were truly grateful, would you have secretly formed factions? If you were truly grateful, would you have helped the princes fight for fame and fortune? This is how you repay me? Qin Feiyang shouted. Plop. Upon hearing these words, all of the officials fell to their knees in fear. Qin Feiyang looked at Qin Li and shouted, "And you kneel?" Qin Li's gaze trembled, and he could not help but look at the emperor. The emperor looked at Qin Li and sighed inwardly. From now on, everything will be decided by Qin Feiyang. The meaning of this sentence was very clear. Whoever did not listen would be defying the emperor's authority. Qin Li's face became paler and paler as he knelt on the ground powerlessly. Qin Feiyang glanced at Qin Li, then swept his gaze over the civil and military officials. I originally thought that after that calamity, the people of the great Qin Empire would put aside their selfish desires and truly unite. But now it seems that I was really wrong. How long has it been since the calamity? I think it's only been a few hundred years. He can't help but start stirring up trouble again. Other than Elder Qin and the others, no one else is qualified to say the word gratitude, because they are the ones who are truly selflessly contributing to great Qin. And you so-called marquises and ministers are a bunch of vermin of my great Qin. With you here, great Qin will fall sooner or later. Qin Feiyang snorted coldly. The civil and military officials trembled in fear. What was His Highness planning to do? Qin Feiyang looked around at everyone and said, "Therefore, I declare that from today onwards, all martial marquis positions will be abolished." What? All the martial lords suddenly raised their heads, looking at Qin Feiyang. The emperor, old Qin, Qin Feiyang, and Liu Xiaofei and his sister all looked at Qin Feiyang in surprise. Depose Wu Ho. This was something that had never happened in the history of the great Qin dynasty. This was because the titles of the marquises were personally conferred by the previous emperor and were passed down from generation to generation. Dethroning a marquis was tantamount to going against the previous emperor's imperial edict. I know, you must want to use your ancestors to pressure me, but I'm sorry, my ancestors are still alive, and this time when I return, I will report this matter to my ancestors. Qin Feiyang said lightly. What? The previous emperor is still alive? Everyone was shocked. Feiyang, is this true? The emperor, old Qin, and Qin Feiyang immediately asked. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. Still alive. The emperor and the others couldn't calm down for a long time. Your Majesty, don't believe it. After all, this is only His Highness's side of the story. Let's talk about it later. The great Qin Empire was built together with the ancestors of the various martial marquises and the previous emperor. It is also because of this that the previous emperor personally conferred the title of Marquis in order to take care of us, the descendants of meritorious officials. Your Majesty, we are all descendants of meritorious officials. We can't let people be disappointed. All the marquises looked at the emperor and cried out. The emperor frowned, looked at Qin Feiyang and said, Feiyang, this is indeed a lack of consideration. Father, if you don't make a decision, you will suffer. Do you want the next Zhuge family to appear? Qin Feiyang said. As soon as he heard the Zhuge family, a trace of killing intent flashed in the emperor's eyes. Qin Feiyang looked at the marquises and said, If you can play your part and live like a prince, why would I treat you like this? But unfortunately, you don't know how to appreciate kindness. The ancestors did indeed give you the title of Marquis to take care of you, the descendants of meritorious officials. But what about you? All these years, what have you done? Relying on the death exemption token given to you by the ancestors, you took bribes, perverted the law, and connived with your descendants to bully men and women. What qualifications do you have to continue to be the marquises of the great Qin dynasty? As for what can't let people be disappointed, that's ridiculous. The great Qin dynasty has protected you for more than 10,000 years. No matter how big the favor is, no matter how big the contribution, it should be paid off. Don't tell me, we have to protect you for hundreds of thousands of years, or even millions of years. I believe that even your ancestors will agree with my decision when they see what you are doing now. Dethroning the marquis position is not negotiable. Chief, draft the decree immediately. Qin Feiyang shouted. The chief eunuch looked at the emperor. The emperor took a deep breath, returned to the dragon throne, and said indifferently, "Do it." "Yes." The chief eunuch respectfully replied, "Your Majesty, you can't." The marquises were burning with anxiety. If they were really dethroned from their marquis position, then what difference would there be between them and the ordinary people below? Then all the glory, all the power, they would no longer exist. "We have said that we will listen to Qin Feiyang. What he said is the imperial edict," the emperor said expressionlessly. Your Highness, we won't dare to do it again. In the future, we will be down to earth and dutiful. Please give us another chance." The marquises looked at Qin Feiyang again, begging with snot and tears. "To tell you the truth, back then, I had the idea of dethroning the marquis position. It was because your ancestors were all heroes of the founding of the country that I let you go. But I didn't expect that you still don't repent." "What? You all want to control the government? Then do you want me to give the great Qin to you?" Qin Feiyang said, we don't dare, Your Highness, this is the last time, I beg you. We promise that in the future, we will know our place and not participate in any prince's disputes." The group of people cried out in despair. Qin Feiyang turned a deaf ear, turned to the chief eunuch and said, "Is it done?" "Yes." The chief eunuch nodded his head repeatedly. Holding the golden imperial edict, he walked in front of Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang glanced at it and said, "Read it to them." "Yes." The chief eunuch respectfully replied, lowering his head to look at the imperial edict. "By the will of the heavens, the emperor decrees that today, all the marquises will be dethroned from their positions and reduced to commoners. If there are any rebels, those who disobey will be exterminated." The moment the imperial edict came out, all the marquises collapsed to the ground. Gone. Everything was gone. Qin Feiyang swept his gaze across the group of people and said indifferently, "Of course, my great Qin is not someone who does not care about old friendships. Although you are no longer marquis, you can stay in the imperial capital, but, at this point." Qin Feiyang changed the topic. With a monstrous killing intent, he said, "If because of resentment, you secretly cause trouble and destroy my great Qin, then don't blame me, Qin Feiyang, for being merciless." Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and a wave of divine power appeared, pouncing towards Marquis Yang. Ah! With a mournful scream, Marquis Yang died without a corpse. Seeing this scene, everyone was scared out of their wits, especially Qin Li, who knelt on the ground, trembling. Was this Qin Feiyang's method? As soon as he came back, he dethroned all the marquis and even killed Marquis Yang in front of everyone? Li Jian. Qin Feiyang looked around and shouted again, "Your subordinate is here." Li Jian walked in front of Qin Feiyang and bowed. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and a golden sword appeared and said, "This is a legendary level artifact. I will now officially bestow upon it the name of the dragon-slaying sword." Legendary level artifact? Li Jian, Old Man Qin, and the others were startled. What level of artifact was this? Was it very strong? "Now, I will give you the dragon-slaying sword. Remember, the dragon-slaying sword represents me, beheading the incapable ruler, beheading the rebellious minister." Qin Feiyang said. Subordinate accepts the order. Li Jian took the dragon-slaying sword. "As my friend, as the guardian of my great Qin, you must help me protect the great Qin's mountains and rivers. If you discover that a minister has the intention to rebel in the future, or if you discover that some princes are secretly colluding with the various marquis, kill them all without mercy." Qin Feiyang glanced at Qin Li and said, "Yes." Li Jian also looked at Qin Li and nodded heavily, his entire body emitting a sharp aura. "Good method." The white-eyed wolf whispered. This guy really had a trick up his sleeve. With a loyal subordinate like Li Jian and this dragon-slaying sword that could kill everything, he could completely crush the ambitions of the various princes and marquis. As long as these people did not stir up trouble, the great Qin would be able to maintain eternal peace. As expected, looking at Li Jian and the dragon-slaying sword, the group of ministers immediately became as obedient as lambs. Qin Li was also in extreme despair. Among these marquis, there were many people who supported him. Now that the various marquis had been dethroned, it was equivalent to turning everything he had painstakingly built up over the years into bubbles. There's one more thing. Qin Feiyang let out a long breath and said to Li Jian, "Find Qin Haoyan for me. If he doesn't come, cripple his cultivation." Yes. Li Jian did not ask anything and left with the dragon-slaying sword. "Feiyang, why are you looking for Haoyan?" The emperor looked suspiciously at Qin Feiyang. "Feiyang, isn't crippling his cultivation too serious? Haoyan has been quite obedient these years and has not made any mistakes. Moreover, he is very respectful to your mother." Old Qin and the others thought that Qin Feiyang was going to make a move on Qin Haoyan, so they pleaded for Qin Haoyan, "Don't worry, I won't hurt him." Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. Hearing this, Old Qin and the others breathed a sigh of relief. But thinking about it, it made sense. When Qin Haoyan was still a child, Qin Feiyang did not hurt him, let alone now. After all, the current Qin Feiyang was so powerful that even they could only look up to him. How could a mere Qin Haoyan be a threat to him? You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.